Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Inside the 15 with Bryce Young. Young is going to take off running. Bryce Young, touchdown, Alabama. Does it with his arms, and now he does it with his legs.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here's Corum. And Corum, what a move. Corum, he needs a block. Corum, down the sideline. Blake Corum, touchdown, Wolverines. 67 yards.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Championship if you score in all likelihood. And perhaps the CFP. Jackson trying to turn the corner, and he did not get there. Darren McVay raced him to the pylon and made sure he came up inches short.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
I don't know how you try to weave through yet another show, almost similar to last week when you had all the Lincoln Riley story, the Brian Kelly story, plus another weekend of college football chaos, and there was more. We do know who's going to play for the national title, and it's going to be Alabama, Cincinnati, Georgia, and Michigan. And Alabama sent an amazing, emphatic statement with what they did to Georgia in that defense. And Paul, Craig, Jack, Armstrong, Hayden, among others, Brian, Colt, Ashley, all of us were at AT&T Stadium for Saturday in a game that had more pendulum swings and momentum and roller coasters and back and forth. And we're going to show you an end zone view of the last play. In fact, we'll start the show with this. Now, I understand we have a lot of you that are Oklahoma State fans. We would start this off either way because it's a remarkable play. This is from the back. Look, I want you to, you're going to see the chaos in the Baylor defense. We understand it's fourth down, 4th and goal. Baylor, Terrell Bernard tries to call timeout. The umpire gives him a timeout. There are no timeouts left. Baylor could have been penalized here. But then they came back on the field. They set the clock back up to 25 seconds. There was 8 seconds at one point. You could see this. And there's still mass. It's a run blitz, by the way. Everyone hit a gap. Watch Siaka Ika in the middle. He takes a guard in center. And then here comes Jaron McVay. And Stewart within inches of the pylon.
Well, it's a perfect play call by Mike Gundy, and it was. I mean, you had to rely on, Baylor had to rely on Jaron McVay making the play, and when you're one-on-one on offense with a running back, you often think that you've got the upper hand, and Jaron McVay made a fantastic play. And the next time Baylor fans complain about the, incompetency of the Big 12 officials, remember that time that it worked out for you.
It was a remarkable play. We were on the complete opposite side of the stadium in the press box. Gut-wrenching loss for Oklahoma State, exhilarating loss, and Baylor's now won three Big 12 titles since 2013. I still keep going back to that play, and that's just a different level that I saw, a different angle as well. Baylor in the Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss and trying to get their first ever 12-win season if they can beat Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin as well. Craig?
Yeah, it was an incredible game. That's a good angle to show the timeout that was called that wasn't called, and Baylor got very fortunate in that instance. I can see where Oklahoma State fans would be upset by that. But ultimately, you got stopped 4 times straight on the goal line, not just once, but 2 go-rounds. And you give a lot of credit to Baylor for that. Just an unbelievable effort play by Jaron McVay. I've watched it 100 times by now to see every single angle imaginable and watch every single inch of grass that was touched and every angle and you said Stewart, but Desmond Jackson was the Oklahoma State running back, and watched his feet and how he looked like he started to slip at the end, and if he had ducked his shoulder like a lot of people said and cut up field. But you can look at it from a lot of different angles. And some angles, it looks like he could have done that, but might have still been stopped short. Some angles looks like he could have cut up and may have gotten in easily. It's just, but then, you actually speed it up to regular speed, and you see that not everybody can sit at home on the couch and go, well, I would have cut that ball up and dipped my shoulder. And it's like, watch it at full game speed and tell me that you would have just made that decision that quickly because you did that as a sophomore at, Toluca High School, in 1982. I mean, come on now. That was a bang-bang play. Yeah, Desmond Jackson is probably feeling lower than just about anybody, and I hope he's okay. I hope mentally he's staying strong. I hope his teammates supported him because that is the nightmare. That is the complete opposite of the dream that you have as a kid of reaching out and scoring the game-winning touchdown and winning a championship. He had the complete 180 of that, and I can't imagine how painful that must have been. But you know what? Somebody had to give up that play. Either Baylor was going to be on the receiving end of that or Oklahoma State was going to be on the receiving end of that. That was a play that it all came down to, even though Baylor still had to get the ball out of the end zone after that with one more quarterback sneak from Blake Shapen to run out the clock. But just unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable game. I thought they had no chance to win that game. I was telling Paul, I was like, they screwed up with that fourth down call. They totally screwed themselves with that fourth down decision. And it turns out that they nearly did, but they didn't quite because this team's a bunch of fighters. And, to see teams go out and win, like throw the game-winning touchdown is one thing. But to see a team goal line stand somebody and come all the way down to, like, the 2-inch line, there's just something magical about that, man. And to do it 4 straight plays, that's just unbelievable stuff. Like, that's awesome. And so happy for guys like Jalen Petrie, Jaron McVay, Terrell Bernard, et cetera, for the full ride that they've been on and it ending the way that it did.
Rod Webb was telling me, and I thought I was thinking about back-to-back timeouts. Rule in football is different than basketball. No penalty for calling a timeout in football that you don't have. But it did create chaos in Oklahoma State. Who knows if they could run the play there. But by delaying the game, I don't think that calmed Baylor down any. I don't think that was less chaotic. It was absolute, just an unbelievable effort by obviously Jaron McVay to find. It was almost a matter of speed, physics, gravity, all of that at the end. One note, I got this note about Jaron McVay. I talked to his father, Danny, after the game, and I also talked to him a little bit earlier today. Remember the great name in Kansas City Chiefs history, University of Houston history, and also in the days of back in the day when you had San Antonio Brackenridge High School. There's a guy named Warren McVay, a great name. It's a distant cousin of his father, so that means Jaron McVay, he wears jersey 42, and when Warren McVay was in high school back in the day and with also University of Houston, he wore jersey number 42. Somebody asked me that today on Twitter, and I found that out. I know that's little of any consequence, but I thought it was a pretty good note.
Well, his story's been amazing. I mean, he was a walk-on, and Matt Rule and them, brought him on board. And Phil Bennett, didn't Phil Bennett talk a little bit about Jaron, or was that right after?
Yeah.
But, it's kind of in that same time period of that transition from the Browl staff to the Rule staff, and Jaron was just a, non-recruited, kind of probably undersized, just overlooked player that walks on, and they obviously saw something in him. And I pulled up a quote from 4 years ago that Matt Rule had said about him being one of the best athletes they had on the team, and that was 4 years ago. And then 2 years ago, or around 2 years ago, he ends up earning a scholarship a year to two ago, and now here he is in the biggest game that Baylor's played in at least 3 years, because they were in the title game against Oklahoma a couple years back, but they won this one. And I mean, that's program changing. To go out and win a Big 12 championship game and do it in the style that they did, that's program changing. Like, they've won Big 12 titles before, but this is different. Like, this is different. To go out and beat Oklahoma State the way that you did and the style that you did. I mean, again, like, you throw a touchdown, a Hail Mary, you win a game that way, that's cool. If Desmond Jackson wins on that run into the end zone, that's awesome. Like, that's going to be a huge moment. That crowd's going to explode and all that. But to have your backs against the goal line and not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 freaking times in a row, stonewall their butts. I mean, that was just unreal,
and
man.
7 times overall.
And 7 times overall. That was just incredible.
Yeah, if Desmond Jackson was 6 feet tall, he would have scored maybe 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of that game, and then we're not talking about this. The other thing is that historically, since Baylor's gotten good at football again, since Art Briles came back, they've not been great at any game past 12.
No.
So you get in that 13th, 14th game or so, it's not been the best for them. So, and to win in those big moments, I think that's pretty huge. I think that's enormous for them.
Well, that's one of the things that I've been talking about a little bit here lately is just the opportunity that was in front of them to win this Big 12 title. It's kind of the feeling that I'm sure Oklahoma State has, this sort of an empty feeling of you get there, and it's great to get there, but, man, it means so much more to win it, And, you can get there, but ultimately until you win it, it's that's what creates that next step up, that next level up. And, man, Oklahoma State was so close. Nothing but respect and hats off to the Cowboys. That was a tremendous effort. Obviously, not having Jalen Warren, specifically with what we're talking about as well. He probably scores on some of those plays. There's no doubt. So to not have him, which I didn't expect, I was surprised by that. That was a really big blow to not have your starting center. Obviously, you look at what Siaki Ika did, and so yeah, an incredible ball game.
No, it's incredible. Again, it's one of those we could go in 9 different directions, and we can. There's the college football playoff. We now know it's set. Cincinnati, Alabama, Georgia, and Michigan after Alabama throttled Georgia. There's a lot to get to. The bowl games, coaching changes. Oklahoma has Brent Venables. He's set. And Teddy Lehman, former Oklahoma linebacker and now part of talk shows up in that area, will join us at 3:30. And then what does that mean for Clemson? Alexis Cuban, who used to be an intern for us back in the day, now covers Clemson. She'll join us on their next move. Angelique Shengelis of the Detroit News will join us on Michigan, who might be playing better than anybody in America right now, with all due respect to Alabama, Cincinnati, and anyone else. She'll join us at 4 o'clock on them and their win to solidify the top 4. Also, Ole Miss and Baylor in the Sugar Bowl, January 1st. Neil McCready of rebelgrove.com will join us in my conversation with Baylor head coach Scott Drew today. They have Villanova Saturday, and what might be the biggest non-conference basketball game ever at the Farrell Center. 3 of the last 5 years national champions. Villanova's Villanova. Baylor's now number 2 in the country behind Purdue. Gonzaga lost again. And who knows? And Baylor doesn't play a game until they play Villanova today on Saturday at 2 o'clock. Now, Manny Diaz out at Miami. Cristobal from Oregon to Miami. The coaching chaos carousel continues. And now Oregon looks for a coach. And who knows? Maybe they'll go back to Chip Kelly, who had a great run with them. I don't know. I do know that I have seen yet again some concerns. I saw Adam Rittenberg from ESPN. I have a lot of respect for Adam. He gave an opinion that Oregon would be a better fit long-term for Dave Aranda. Adam, you don't know what you're talking about on that one, buddy. You don't. I mean, I'm not. Dave Aranda, yesterday during the Sugar Bowl media session, made the comment, and if you really listen to him, he didn't just discuss the fit with Baylor. He also discussed that he has communicated with Mack Rhodes and Dr. Livingstone, the president, about how much he wants to be at Baylor long term. We've discussed this before. I'm sticking to what I told you 3 weeks ago tomorrow, that Dave Aranda is not leaving Baylor football no matter. You've had LSU, Oklahoma, Washington, Florida, Notre Dame, USC, and now Oregon open up. Not happening. It's not happening. And I'll stick to that. That's fine. Colt wrote a great piece about it today as well in the premium section.
Oregon has a similar problem that Baylor does right now. I mean, that every time you have a good coach, people are after him. So Nike must not be that big of a deal, for one. And two, I just don't think that he's going to, especially right now in the coaching cycle and everything that's going on, I don't think it's the best point. I mean, he's about to play in a New Year's Six Bowl. It's not the best for him, for Dave Aranda personally. And I'll say this, and this is not necessarily on Mario Cristobal. He wanted that Miami job, and they offered it to him. But he is stepping into a situation at Miami that appears to be chaotic. That's a minor way of describing it. When you have a coach out on the road recruiting, and then the regents decide before they hire an athletic director that they really need to get together and hire Mario Cristobal because he's the guy who can save the program, when the real problem is the fact that you've got 50 regents making these decisions all at once. So best of luck to Miami. I hope they get it figured out, and I hope that Mario Cristobal can go down there and have smooth sailing. But I would not necessarily feel confident about wading through that mess in the early going.
All right, another thing I want to get into. Gary Barta from Iowa, right? He's the college football playoff spokesman. in 2 quotes, and Armstrong, I guess we probably don't have these up or available. Do we have them, Jack? All right. These are lengthy. I want to get to this. We're going to read your texts and your chat, and we're going to take your calls as well. We have Teddy Lehman coming up at 3:30. This is Gary Barta, the commissioner or the spokesperson for the College Football Playoff Committee. I initially made this comment, and I didn't expect Baylor to be in the 4, and I don't think they earned it. All right, I don't. But when you saw 5 and 6 Notre Dame and Ohio State, here is Gary Barta. Here's a quote from him on Ohio State and Baylor. Well, I'll start with the second one first. The committee does not talk about conferences, so we don't break down the strength of weakness. I'm going to go all the way down. He talked about Ohio State, what they've done, and the game against Michigan, whatever else. Then look at the part that says Baylor absolutely gets credit for their win, their conference championship win. And then he talks about their wins against top 15. Then at the very bottom, the committee just felt that Ohio State was a better football team than Baylor, both terrific teams, but Ohio State was the better team. That's not your freaking job to make that decision. It's not the eye test that you want to bring up. Now, I'm not saying Ohio State wouldn't beat Baylor. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, when it comes to 6, and you could even argue with Notre Dame with no top 25 wins, not their fault. Everybody they played wasn't very good. Okay, so Gary Barta said, yeah, they get credit for the conference, but he kind of blew off the extra game. Remember the extra data point that in 14, TCU and Baylor were screwed over, right? And that's part of the rules. Now go to Utah and Brigham Young. Here's a quote about Utah and Brigham Young. You want to talk about hypocrisy. The committee all year long has done a lot of respect for the administration, for what Brigham Young has done, the season they've had. Specifically to your question about how Brigham Young was Utah leaped over Brigham Young. Specifically to your question, the 2 teams that are ahead of them both won conference championships over the weekend, Utah and Pittsburgh. So in one quote, you're talking about that makes a difference against a team in Brigham Young who beat Utah straight up. And yet in another conversation about Ohio State and Baylor, not to get in the 4, you basically blow right over the fact that they won a conference championship game in an extra data point.
Well, it means to me that the committee knew what they were going to do before they did it.
No way.
I mean, that confirms it.
Dun, 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 dun.
So that's basically they went in saying, okay, they had all of their if this, then that happens things. Because when I saw that Baylor was 7th, it meant to me that Baylor was always going to be 7th if they won. That was where they were going to go. Because the 2 teams that finished over them, 5 and 6 directly, didn't play. So those teams were going to be 5 and 6 no matter what happened on the weekend.
Yeah, Gary Barta's full of S. The whole playoff committee's full of S. I could say the word if I wanted to technically, but I'll just use it for a better time to really give it that power to it. But yeah, they're all full of it. I mean, and Dave Bartu can tell us about their system and what they have all set up and how they get to where they are and all that. I don't care if this is all like by the book, the way that they've written the book. The book sucks. The book needs to be burned and thrown out the window. Why is this such an exclusive club? Why is this the only postseason that feels like more people don't deserve opportunities? Why would we not want to see Utah in the playoff right now to see if they could upset the apple cart? Why would we not want to see that Baylor defense in the playoff to maybe see if they could upset that apple cart? I mean, I know they had to cringe through their teeth, or grit their teeth, even putting the name Cincinnati in there. That must have been really painful for them. But why would we not want to see that? Why? Like, I see all these arguments about, well, it would dilute the playoff. Well, how so? Because you're just automatically assuming that the big teams would win every single game? Well, then, I mean, what's the point of having any of these games to begin with?
Why did Cincinnati beat Notre Dame?
Yeah, why did Cincinnati beat Notre Dame? I mean, why do we play the games? If you want to do that, well, then we should have had the Big 12 title game. We should just put Oklahoma State in the playoff. Why even play the games? They're clearly just better by our eyes, better than Baylor, so why even play these teams? I mean, the whole explanation thing is such bad television, and it's such dishonest bullcrap. I mean, it really is. Like, this is the dumbest process in the world. Why would we want to see a team that's lost 3 games get into the playoff? How many games did the freaking Buccaneers lose last year? Are we sitting there going, paper champions? They suck. Tom Brady and company, they didn't deserve a spot in the Super Bowl. They don't deserve to be champions. Really? because they sure as hell looked like it. They looked like they went out and earned it, not got named it. And I got selectively placed into it along with only 3 other teams, which is very convenient that you only have to play 2 other games. And I know there's only so many that you can play, but like in the NFL, it works. In the NBA, it works. In Major League Baseball, the underdogs win.
In the lower tier, less money college football. It works.
It works everywhere. But for some reason, it doesn't work in this one sport. I don't know. It sounds like a bunch of power-hungry people trying to protect the other power-hungry institutions. That's all it sounds like to me, because there's no explanation for every time I see this. Like, JD is so huge on this. Well, this would whittle down. Like, I understand there's part of it is there could potentially be too many rematches. Like, that's something that you do have to take into account. But I don't know. Baylor, Oklahoma State was one hell of a rematch. And look what happened when they played a second time. A different freaking result. Because it's almost like they're different teams 10 weeks later. You know, like this whole thing is just so dumb.
But I wanted to put that in. I wanted to put that up as to show the hypocrisy. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it.
Because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter anymore. And I said in my tweet, 1 through 4 is all that matters. But when you are able to put a logo, let's say it would have been Oklahoma State. And by the way, had they won that game, they should damn sure be a part of the argument to be ahead of Georgia.
And it looked like they wouldn't be.
And it probably looks like they wouldn't be. Also, what would it have hurt if it would have been Oklahoma State, or would it have been maybe Brigham Young, or in this case Baylor, and the logo along with Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Michigan, and of course great to see Cincinnati, future Big 12 Cincinnati. Congratulations on the win. They pulled away in the second half to beat Houston. Heisman Trophy votes were due today. I voted for mine yesterday. That comes out, of course, they'll announce this weekend, and a lot of evidence that we saw over the weekend from many teams and many of the players who led their teams, from Aiden Hutchinson or Bryce Young or Anderson Jr. C.J. Stroud had to sit back and watch. He's obviously in the mix among some others as well. So that's also coming up this weekend with an off week of games other than the game of all games in Army-Navy coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. Bryce Young probably would get my Heisman vote, although there's some other good candidates. But, I mean, it's hard to argue against him at this point. I don't have a whole lot of interest, I'll be honest with you, in the Heisman Trophy this year. It's just it hasn't grabbed me and pulled me in. It's just kind of been there and kind of been something to talk about. And I feel dumb for going on a rant about the playoff, even though it's just so obviously stupid. Like, every time I see this argument about more exclusivity or how it would water it down, I just look at every other sport in the entire world who does expanded playoffs and does it without any issue whatsoever, or without anybody ever going like, that NBA champion was undeserving. Oh, that total. I mean, come on now. But I feel stupid about it because I know what it's all about. I know it's all about money and it's all about TV ratings, no matter how much we want to make it about or hope that it's about other things. It's not. It's about those things. And so that's why we have the playoff that we have, and why we'll continue to for the foreseeable future. But there's no explanation that can be given to me, even if it's, Baylor won't travel well enough to be a playoff team. This is why they'll have trouble getting in the playoff, because they're not going to be able to go sell out 60, 80,000 seat stadiums. Well, can they play football? Are they good enough to play football? Are they good not to beat people? Or are we worried about how many seats they're going to fill? Oh, I guess we're worried about how many seats we're going to fill. Are they a good team that could win a title, that is deserving to play for, not passed your eye test, but was deserving to play for a title? Oh, who cares? We need TV ratings.
Well, there was a tweet over the weekend, and it was from somebody that covers Texas, so I have respect for, that said, this is why Baylor, as far as the crowd at AT&T Stadium, Baylor was there. Oklahoma State's bright orange was there too. So in other words, Texas has the 8th biggest capacity stadium. Where the hell they been? Tennessee's like 4. A&M's right there with them, right? Penn State's 2. Go on down the list, a couple of others. It doesn't matter how big your stadium is. It shouldn't matter. It should matter who you are right now when you're supposed to play. I'm not saying they got the 4 wrong. I do believe it, but there's an argument.
But even then, based on the stadium thing, based on Penn State and A&M and all that, if you expand to 12, there's a better shot that those teams that fill up the stadium can go too.
Exactly.
So if you're saying that, then yeah, there's a better shot that one of those teams that might have lost 2 tough games this year to 2 tough opponents, but could beat almost anybody else that's in front of them, and given the matchup could win the thing, they could go. Penn State could go and sell at any bowl game.
And you mean?
You could put them in. that's one of the craziest things about it. I will also say this. Oklahoma State knew that they were going to be in the game for a full week longer than Baylor did, and Baylor, really had to make their plans the minute that the bedlam ended, as where Oklahoma State knew. So they had a full week to buy those tickets, and Baylor less than. And there's less people from Baylor than there are Oklahoma State. Bottom line, and Baylor still pretty much dominated their allotment. So
and you wouldn't have, it sounded A-okay to me. Sounded ear-splitting at times during that game. I thought Baylor fans showed up and showed out. There's just not as many. There's never going to be. It's a smaller school than Oklahoma State, so that's just going to be automatic. But you mean to tell me that if your team got a chance to go into the playoff and they are good enough to go out and, let's say, beat an Iowa in the first round, and then boom, they beat a Michigan State or a USC in the second. You mean to tell me folks aren't going to get pumped the F up to go out and travel for another playoff game? Because, look, they'd be winning games. It'd create excitement, not downplay the excitement. I know what it's all about, but it's just still frustrating.
The only problem I have with the 4 is where the locations of Georgia. You damn sure know that they weren't going to play Alabama, Georgia. And based on the evidence, Cincinnati should be 3. Georgia should be 4. And who did Georgia beat? I'm not questioning whether they should be a part of the 4, but just think about it. Because Alabama was down 10-0 and destroyed them in the second and third quarters. And I'm not saying Georgia does not be a part of it. I was stunned at how Alabama went over 500 yards. Bryce Young was crazy good. I loved it for Bryce Young. But why aren't they 4? They got throttled. Why aren't they 4? Why wasn't Michigan 1? They beat the crap out of Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. Yes, Iowa was kind of always around, but they were still 10-2, right? Why wouldn't it, if you're going to put Georgia at 4, then keep Alabama 1. Why? You're not allowed to do that? You don't want to use the commissioner?
Can't have a rematch.
Why not? Why not? All right.
Would that have affected Oklahoma and Oklahoma State if they would have played 2 weeks in a row? Because that would have been a rematch. Yeah. I mean, rematches happen. I know we'd like to avoid
Oregon
them.
and Utah played 3 weeks before they played, 2 weeks before they played.
By the way, Utah bludgeoned Oregon a couple of different times. I mean, what they have done at Utah was phenomenal. Paul?
All right, Owen in Virginia will take your call. Then we got to go to Teddy Lehman. You're on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I could not agree any more with what y'all said. Y'all said it just perfectly about the college football playoffs. It's ridiculous that Baylor, a conference champion, is below Ohio State, who couldn't even make it to their conference championship game. But, and I may get a lot of flack for this, but I honestly don't believe that Georgia, as good as they are, they've earned their way in the playoffs. I don't think that they should be in the top 4 because solely for the fact that they didn't win their conference championship and they got boat raced in it. I think conference championships should matter more than what they do now. And if they expand it to 12, then make the conference championship matters. Let's see, rankings 1 through 10 be your Power 5 and Group of 5 champions. But that'll never happen because it makes too much sense. And it doesn't, apparently it doesn't make enough money. But if I was expanding it to 12, have 1 through 10 be your conference champions. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Owen. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, I'd be cool. I'd be cool with anything that's expanded at this point. And there's an argument to be made. Georgia's got 4 top 25 wins, but you look at some of those, and those aren't even top 25 wins anymore. I mean, how much credit do they get for beating Clemson in the first game of the year, 10-3, when Clemson clearly is not the typical Clemson that they are, and they clearly weren't at that point in time. Clemson got better as the year went on, but they weren't the best team in week number 1. And it wasn't like that was 30-0. It was 10-3. It was 10-3. So that wasn't their only one. I mean, they had that stretch of 3 straight wins in SEC play against top 25 teams. I mean, they've got some notches. But I mean, look at Baylor's freaking resume. And look, my whole rant is not even Baylor based. It's just college football based that we don't even want teams like that to have a chance to play for it, which I think is ridiculous. And you get completely eliminated because that loss against TCU. I get it. That's why we said so much at the time about that is a killer freaking loss. And it turns out it nearly cost them a Big 12 title. It didn't. They were very fortunate there and also earned their way around that. But it did cost them a shot in the playoff. It absolutely did. So
and should have.
And should have. Yeah. And so I'm not arguing that this playoff sucks because Baylor's not in it. But I do think that you look at the way they play, the drama of Saturday, that defense, and they're a great story, and they would be a cool playoff addition. Utah would be freaking fantastic. Are you kidding me? How do they not deserve a crack with what they've done?
At least a chance. At least a chance.
Yeah.
All right, the chat room, you guys are amazing. Guys and girls, we appreciate you so much. We will try to get to clumps of that. We have the guest coming up in Teddy Lehman. Oklahoma introduced Brent Venables, former defensive coordinator. He's been at Clemson. He was a part of the Bob Stoops National Championship in 2000 and 2 of Dabo Swinney's national championships at Clemson. It's been kind of a tough week for Oklahoma fans, and some of you probably don't care. In fact, you probably enjoyed that, but it has, because they're not used to this. So Teddy Lehman comes back and tells us about Brent Venables and what it means to Oklahoma. Did they get it right or not? Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on over at Richard Carr right now. Supply chain shortages, we know that's been a bit of an issue for dealerships all across the country, but Richard Carr's been fighting through that. They've been getting people signed up for their reserve list. That's right. If you are looking for a new car or truck, well, they are on their way right now, and so it is time to get on that inbound vehicle list over at Richard Carr. Forget the supply chain challenges. Cars and trucks are coming, and Richard Carr is receiving deliveries of new cars and trucks each week. So again, now is the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped and hitting the lot by signing up on that inbound vehicle list. If you need a pickup, get the best, check out a Sierra from Richard Carr. It has it all, power for a work site or the luxury interior, and drive for a night on the town. And Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac is also the home of more SUVs than any other dealer. 11 different SUV models to choose from with dozens of trim options. Richard Carr is a one-stop shop to find the perfect SUV for your needs, whether it's the fun and nimble Buick Encore or the sophistication and luxury of a Cadillac Escalade. Forward to seeing their Baylor friends and new friends at the dealership or in the stands.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Bellmead locations. With bright open lobbies, plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
There are 26 letters letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em 200.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
Former Oklahoma linebacker great, also The Rush, Sports Talk 1400, color analyst for Oklahoma football. And with Toby Rowland, and also with Gabe Eichert with Oklahoma. What was today like? I heard it was just insane. The introduction of Brent Venables. Obviously, Oklahoma Nation been on pins and needles the last week.
Yeah, the last 24 hours have been crazy. Yesterday, it really started circulating that they'd made the decision on Brent Venables. They were flying out to pick him up in South Carolina. Everyone figured that out, figured out the flight plan to get back, and you had thousands of people flood the airport there in Norman with signs and everything to welcome him here. And then today they had the official ceremony where he was introduced as the next head coach, and a ton of former players there, media, obviously fans, current players. It was a really good show. It's been awesome. As soon as Lincoln Riley announced that he was gone and he was going to USC, instantly there was a bunch of people, myself included, started saying we need to do whatever we can to get Brent Venables back.
Well, and you have him. How important is it that it's somebody that understands Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's unique. It is. It's a blue blood program. It's one of the top 5 or 6 programs in the country. But it's unique in the sense that most of your recruiting needs to come from outside of your state. So that requires a little bit different understanding of the lay of the land. We're also going to be transitioning to the SEC at some point in the future. So it's a really important hire and important time for Oklahoma. So Venables, he understands the SEC, the lay of the land. He was recruiting against those guys for the most part down there at Clemson. So he understands the resources needed and what it's going to take on the field. So I think it's just a great hire. Joe C., the athletic director, when Lincoln left and went to USC, it caught everyone by surprise, including, it sounds like, the administration. They didn't want that to happen again. They wanted someone where this job is going to be really important to them, where this is not a stepping stone, but a destination job. You got that in Venables.
Let me ask you this. It has been since the Lincoln Riley story went down, which was shocking. It kind of shook college football. Oklahoma's been a part of a couple of those stories back in July, of course, with the SEC and that story as well. Has it been probably as most uncomfortable week you can remember in Oklahoma, the fan base and around the football program in quite some time?
Yeah, well, here's what's interesting. when Lincoln Riley announced he was leaving for USC, I think there was 24 hours of not really panic, but there's some anger there. People didn't understand why he would do that, especially after downplaying that he was leaving. Actually, just straight up saying that he wasn't leaving, and then he's gone. And that quickly faded to excitement. There's some things about the program. Lincoln Riley did a really good job here. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can't say a whole lot of negatives about what he did. But, there's some things around the program that people have seen. Oklahoma's got a really smart fan base. They've seen a lot of good football in their day. And there's some things around the program that people just didn't like. They didn't like the finesse nature of the team. And for the longest time, you go back however many eras you want to, it's been a team and a program based on physicality and toughness. And it felt like we had lost that. So people quickly turned to excitement with the thought of, maybe getting Venables back and getting back to some of those core principles that we've had as a program that feels like maybe they've been lost the last couple of years.
Teddy Lehman, former Oklahoma linebacker and also the color analyst for OU football, among many shows that he does, including with one of our good friends as well, and I've been a part of their show with Gabe Eichert as well. Teddy, a lot of people want a sexy hire. A lot of people want the guy that's going to win the press conference. So I think sometimes people who don't know Brent Venables don't look at him that way. How do you look at him, and really how was he today?
I think he's been great. What you see from Venables in front of the microphone or in front of a camera is going to be different from what you see at practice, in the meeting room, and on the sideline of a game. He's a very intense individual. He's a very demanding individual whenever it comes to coaching, his coaching style. But away from the field, he cares about his players. He cares about the program, developing relationships. I think he's been great. Now, some people may not say nationally that it's a splash hire, but I'll tell you right now, no one around Oklahoma gives a rip what anyone thinks nationally about the hire. They got the guy that they wanted, and you can tell by the reaction from the fan base last night, today. The Sooner Nation is absolutely thrilled with the hire. They got their guy.
How important is it now that you have the guy, that Caleb Williams, who I heard went to a basketball game during the week of delay, the week of waiting, and they've lost a lot of people, commitments, whatever else. Some have entered a transfer portal. How do you think Venables will do in being able to regain some of that and stabilize what you have right now?
I think you're going to lose some guys naturally, and then you'll probably gain some in the portal as well. I'll tell you, just like Lincoln Riley, and I think Caleb Williams is a really good young player, but me personally, I'm not concerned about it.
Okay.
Would I like to have Caleb Williams back as quarterback? Sure, I think so. But, just like everyone has said, Bob Stoops, Joe Castiglione, this program is bigger than any one individual, bigger than any one coach, any one player. We'll be just fine. I don't know when we're going to announce any of the staff additions that Venables is going to make, but if we get the target that they've been looking at for offensive coordinator, I think Caleb Williams will be more than happy to stay.
Is that going to be former OU player and former Baylor assistant Jeff Levy?
There's a lot of rumors circulating that that's the top target, but here's the thing. Oklahoma is, we're in a good position. I think he would like to come to Oklahoma, but get in line because every other school in the country wants him right now. Some head coaching offers, tons of offensive coordinator offers. Ole Miss would love to keep him there. So you're going to have to make it make sense for him, but I believe that he would like the job if offered.
All right, Teddy, if you don't mind me to wrap it up with this, Baylor won the Big 12 championship. We've talked about them the week before they played Oklahoma. We know what they did that day against OU. We know that game was defense. I know at times sloppy because both teams played with unbelievable passion. Your thoughts about Dave Aranda and Baylor winning the Big 12 title?
I thought it was awesome. What a football game. And defensively, to have that type of a goal line stand, I mean, that's what football's all about. He's done an awesome job there. I love the way that group plays. They're tough. They're physical on both sides of the ball. That zone running game is just – it's brutal downhill. It'll test your manhood on the other side. And defensively, led by that big anchor there in the middle, and a couple of really good backers, and Petrie, and all those guys flying around out there. It's fun to watch, man. I got a lot of respect for Dave Aranda and the job that he's done there. And I'll tell you, Baylor, since Matt Rule took over and Aranda now running the show, it's been some tough football teams down there. They play hard, physical football, and unfortunately, you know, it's one of those things. That's what we've been talking about here is, you know, whenever we've got Baylor and Iowa State and Oklahoma State being the more physical team, talking about being the more physical team coming into the game and expecting to dominate the line of scrimmage, we got some problems going on at Oklahoma. That's why I say people are excited about the future right now, because we think that there's a lot of ground that we can make up. And I'll tell you, Coach Venables he's going to be very demanding of these guys. It's going to be a different atmosphere around Oklahoma.
Former Oklahoma great Teddy Lehman against Sports Talk 1400, OU football color analyst, Huddle with Toby Rowland, and of course part of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Gabe Eichert. Teddy, thanks for your time. Have a great day. I'm sure it's going to be lit up for you. Teddy Lehman on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
All right, we're going to come back here in a minute. We'll have also at 4 o'clock Angelique Shingala. She covers Michigan as they emphatically validated who they are into the college football playoff. Craig, you know a lot about Brent Venables. There's part of me that wonders, and some places want the sexy hire. He's won 3 national titles. He's a big-time coordinator name at Clemson. He was at Oklahoma. What are your thoughts about Brent Venables and the hire?
Well, given all the Oklahoma members of my family, I can say for one, I think they're all just relieved that the coaching search is over. And I know my cousin Jamie in particular, an OU grad who lives in Norman. She lives like 5 minutes from campus. As a matter of fact, I go sit in her backyards on Saturdays and can hear the crowd from her backyard, and have done that a lot of times. But they're thrilled because they love Venables, and I think that's kind of an overwhelming feeling around the fan base of just the obvious connection that he has with the program because of his time there previously. Obviously knows the Big 12 really well. And, you know, Brent Venables could have gone a couple different directions after he got sacked at Oklahoma. You know, they were right there on the precipice of winning a title, and it was like, there's just one thing missing, and what is it? And, oh, it's the defense. We got to change the defense can't put us over the top. And so they made that move, and it turned out to be the best thing imaginable for Brent Venables because all he did was go off to Clemson and become an even better coach and win big titles in big games and play against big teams. And so he's done everything that you could possibly do to deserve being a head coach at this stage. So he's definitely earned the opportunity. I think Oklahoma had probably a lot of different options in front of them. I mean, that's a top 10 job, no doubt about it. Regardless of what people think of them going into the SEC and what that's going to do or anything else. I mean, it's Oklahoma at the end of the day, so you can win there. Bud did it. Bob did it. Barry did it. Lincoln did it, and there's no reason why Brent can't do it as well. So I'm curious. Obviously, a first-time head coach, there's always going to be questions. Running a program's a lot different than being a dominant defensive coordinator. But, again, he's got so much experience. He knows the lay of the land, and I don't know how you could be any more prepared for it than he must be at this point. So, I'm excited to see what he does. Obviously, it's not a slam dunk that it's going to work out, the way that it did with Lincoln Riley or even with Bob Stoops, but there's a good chance that it could. And I believe in Venables, and I believe it was a good hire. I don't know if it was the best hire that could have been made, but I also don't know what their options were. It might have been the best hire they could have made. We'll see, but I like it. And, the Big 12 coaching landscape is going to be very interesting next year with the turnover of Gary Patterson and obviously now they changed Oklahoma as well, and then a lot of guys staying put that you maybe expected could be on their way out. So, excited to see them, fill that job and to see what Brent Venables can do. It's going to be interesting.
There will still be some hits, and that's what Teddy Lehman mentioned. Today, Nick Bonito announced that he would forego the Alamo Bowl and get himself ready for the NFL draft. Obviously, there's decisions to make, and we did mention, I asked him about Jeff Lebby, the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss. That affects Ole Miss.
Yep.
It affects Baylor in the Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss in that offense that's explosive. It affects Oklahoma. It could affect the Big 12. Could affect Baylor starting next year with Jeff Lebby, who coached here and is the son-in-law of former Baylor coach Art Briles. So there's a lot of spider webs and angles of what might happen if, in fact, he takes the job as offensive coordinator. He played at Oklahoma as well, Jeff Lebby. So there's a lot of, and that's still to be determined. We'll see. Kitley of Western Kentucky, hired by Joey McGuire as the offensive coordinator there. Remember, they had Sonny Cumbie, who's now at La Tech, and there were thoughts it might be a Graham Harrell or who it might be. It ends up being Kitley, who had a big offense, explosive offense at Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I think Jeff Lebby would be a great offensive coordinator hire for Oklahoma. I know from talking to my cousin, there is a segment of the Oklahoma fans that are kind of like wary of the Baylor thing still with Jeff Lebby. But, I mean, he's been at 2 different schools since then. I mean, I don't know what else he's got to do to prove that, he's hireable. I mean, Ole Miss obviously felt that way, and he's a guy who's going up the coaching ladder and is going to be a head coach one day. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So I kind of told her, I was like, I mean, I could understand that to an extent, but also several years have passed and nothing's been an issue and no other schools have had an issue. So I don't know why Oklahoma would all of a sudden. I think he'd be a great hire. I think it would also kind of represent a change maybe in the Big 12, flipping back, going more towards wide open offense. I mean, you look at the Kitley hire and then you look at, potentially what you could do with bringing Lebby into Norman. And the way that the Big 12 right now is set up, it's very much a defensive conference all of a sudden. But maybe there is, with some of these new hires, more of a push of like, okay, well, the defenses have become so good, we need to start bringing the offenses back a little bit. That'll certainly be the case in Norman if they go with Lebby, and certainly will be the case in Lubbock with Kitley. But I think Lebby would be a good hire, would bring a great offense to Oklahoma, and maybe able to keep some of those guys around once they see what Matt Corral did and what those Ole Miss receivers did. But Kitley had a monster year at Western Kentucky in just his 1 year there. Bailey Zappi, their quarterback, just record-breaking. I mean, throws 4 touchdowns a week, if not more. 300 yards practically every week. He's put up just insane numbers. So air raid's coming back to Lubbock, and Kitley's a Red Raider guy. Obviously was on the staff previously, and they've really, pointed hard at the connections of his time with Patrick Mahomes as an assistant coach and whatnot. So, yeah, that's a good hire for Joey McGuire on paper, and, I want to see what he does defensively. But the air raid's back in Lubbock, and Zach Kitley's definitely one of the hotter assistants in the country.
No question. We'll come back. We'll take a very quick – well, I tell you what, we're going to have Angelique Shingalis at the top of the hour. So, Jack, we're probably behind on a break, aren't we? Behind on a break. All right, I want to do this. We're going to go a couple more minutes, and then we'll break, and we'll make up that break at some point. Can you do it? Did you get my picture, Jack, that I sent of this woodwork? We've had this before with Gary Lewis, who sent us woodwork of Sikkim 365, and it's over here on the shelf. You can't see it on the wide shot, but the Baylor Sikkim Bears, Sikkim 365 radio. Here is, let me see if, this cool. Is from Joey Foster. I hope I can get that. Yeah, it's pretty clear. Joey Foster, let me get it even. Joey Foster sent this to me when I got back from Arlington after covering the Baylor game with Oklahoma State. It had a box that was on my door, at my front door, woodwork. It's a picture of all of us. It's actually on the set. It's been ingrained, picture on the flat. It's beautiful. Thank you. Joey Foster, Gary Lewis, the folks who have done some great work for us, and many others who have sent, the Willis family that sends us every year in the holidays an unbelievable pie or a cake. We appreciate that so much.
Yeah, Joey, big time thank you. That's very cool. I'm sitting here checking it out now. Very, very cool. What's he doing? Oh, he's going and grabbing the other one. Very cool. Thanks so much. This is awesome. The fans out there, just the listeners, not even so much I say fans, but the listeners out there that are with us every day. It's been a fun ride, and the interactions have been great, and the gifts are just a little cherry on top. Thank you so much for that.
I meant Bob Williams. Gary Lewis, you could send us woodwork if you want as well. Here's the other one we had earlier from Bob's Woodworks. Enjoy the show. Best wishes. So we appreciate that. We don't expect anything, but, boy, we do appreciate it because you are family with us. The chat room continues to go nuts today. Aaron Wilson, who's a huge Texas Tech fan, among many others that have been discussing quite a bit. Of course, there's the Quinn Ewers story, the quarterback at Ohio State from South Lake Carroll. Texas Tech, TCU, Texas in the mix for him. An unbelievable talent who didn't play high school football, left early, had the NIL deal, then decides to transfer because C.J. Stroud's there now. And so who knows how that – I hope, and I know he's a once-in-a-lifetime talent. I hope that Quinn Ewers finds a place, stays at a place, success, whatever he does, and it doesn't turn into another one of these rotating Tate Martell stories. And I don't think it will. He's very, very good at what he does.
I don't think he's a Tate Martell, but, yeah, I mean, you kind of wonder until he settles in somewhere. I mean, look, he went out and grabbed the bag and ran with it, and I'm still confused on exactly what he made off of NIL because I've seen different reports on, well, that was incumbent upon him being there for, few years, or that was depending upon various factors. So I don't know how much he actually made, and maybe somebody at Ohio State can clear that up. But, yeah, obviously it was a $1 million NIL deal for his time there, 3 years or whatever it was, and I don't know how that works. That's kind of one of the funky parts about NIL is when you sign into a business deal with somebody and then there's the transfer portal or there's, injuries or whatever could happen. But, yeah, he's obviously a hot commodity for a good reason, was the number one quarterback in the country, got reclassified, would still be the number one quarterback in the country. Just so happens that Ohio State has other guys who are just as good as number one quarterbacks in the country, and that's part of the deal. So, yeah, I'm fascinated to see where he goes. I mean, Texas seems like they're going to throw NIL money at everyone and everything to win a championship, and that was very evident today with their latest plan for their offensive linemen. And so I imagine they'll throw some NIL at Ewers, and I'm sure Tech and TCU will do what they can to do that as well. I know that there's apparently a relationship with McGuire, or at least there's a comfort level there. So, yeah, very interesting to see where he goes, and that will obviously be a big storyline going into the Big 12 this season.
Ewers was in Lubbock yesterday. Some of you are telling us that he's already met with Sark. TCU's on the radar again. And you know what? He's got a decision to make, and someone's going to get a very tough. We got to break the – go ahead.
No, but and wherever he picks of those three schools, I mean, those are three interesting choices, but wherever he picks, I mean, he's going to be in a high-flying offense. I mean, whether Sark and Austin – pairing up with Xavier Worthy and Bijan, or going to Tech with Zach Kitley in the air raid, or going to TCU with Sonny Cumbie and, their high-flying offense. So he's going to be throwing for some yards wherever he goes, but obviously a very pivotal recruitment in Big 12 country.
When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, Angelique Shengelis, Detroit News on Michigan, emphatically putting them stamp on being a part of the semifinals in college football. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. All right, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. The Bauer family, for the longest time, they had a meat company that was a distribution center for all the local restaurants and for many others as well. Now they have Waco Custom Marketplace. They built this a few years ago. I remember Brian's dream with his father, who unfortunately passed away about a year ago. They wanted to have a hometown grocery store where they could also get a chance to give you, the customer, even more options. Yes, you could order all of the beef, seafood, pork, and poultry you need or want for tailgating or for just what you want at your house. You could also get what you need inside the store when it comes to normal grocery items, from Ritz crackers to hot sauce to popcorn. And then, of course, cold beer and wine and cold beverages as well. But there's a full-blown butcher shop. I love the bone-in ribeyes. Had one yesterday. It's about 1.5 inches thick. They'll cut that specifically for you, and a bakery that bakes fresh baked bread and kolaches every single morning. Waco Custom Marketplace, a great place as well if you want to send some sort of thank you gift baskets to clients or friends or family at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Genco has extended their offer till the end of the year. Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months. And have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. You can't pass on rates this low and make no payments for 90 days. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Hey there, it's Jay from Pickup Outfitters with a holiday public service announcement for all the wives and significant others out there looking for Christmas gift ideas for their man. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. At Pickup Outfitters, we say the way to a man's heart is through his truck. And there's no better Christmas gift for the man in your life than something for his truck. Would your man rather have a new bathrobe or bumper or a cool light bar, socks or a lift kit, a new wallet or new running boards? The answer seems pretty clear, doesn't it? Pickup Outfitters is your Christmas gift headquarters. Why get your man a hoodie when you can get him a slick new retractable bed cover? So don't waste money on a meat thermometer or sweatpants when you can get him a gift certificate for anything he wants for his truck. That's the way to get to a man's heart. Stop by Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco or check us out on the web at createacommotion.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At long last, it's time for some college football. Byrd Collision Ford proudly supports the Baylor Bears as they take the field this season. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Byrd Collision Ford. We have some great vehicles available this season as well, so come check out our winning lineup of new Fords. Let's cheer the Bears on to victory and celebrate by buying a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sic 'em Bears.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sanders throws too high and intercepted. And being run back by J.T. Woods inside the 10 and out of bounds. They'll mark him right near the 10-yard line.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
So after covering Baylor in their win against Oklahoma State, Craig and I on our way back to Waco, and I got back to where I live, just in time to watch, of course, Michigan, Iowa, among others. And I'm telling you right now, my God, the Wolverines were impressive, and they have been for most of the year. Angelique Shingelis joins us from the Detroit News. She's been with us to talk about Michigan throughout the year. Did the committee get it right, Angelique, that Michigan was 2 rather than 1?
That's a great question, and one I asked the players on Sunday. They had a little bit of a media availability after they watched the playoff show after they flew back from Indianapolis. And, yeah, one of the players, Blake Corum, was asked about it after the game Saturday night, and he's like, he just said 42-3. I mean, what do you think? And I think that they were a little disappointed they were not the number 1 seed, but, I think their point was, hey, they're in it. They're one of the 4 teams, and they have a chance. So I don't think they're dwelling on it, but I do think that they thought that they would be the number 1 seed.
After the dominance of a 10-2 team and the way that they close out the season, is maybe now the time that people can quit complaining about Jim Harbaugh finally?
You know that Michigan fans will find some reason to be upset and complain about something. That's what they do the best. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's been quite a couple of weeks here. I mean, after they beat Ohio State and then obviously winning the Big Ten championship, he can do no wrong. And in the middle of that, he announces that he and his wife Sarah have decided to give the money that he will get in terms of incentives after they reshaped his contract earlier this year, and they're going to give that back to the athletic department to disperse among the people who were laid off or had to take mandatory or voluntary pay cuts last year during the pandemic, the peak of the pandemic. So there's been a lot of goodwill, I would say, generated by Jim Harbaugh off the field and on the field.
Angelique, why this year? Why this team? Why this version of the Michigan Wolverines and not in past years? What is all kind of accumulated to get them to this point where outside of a narrow, somewhat controversial loss to Michigan State, I mean, they'd be unbeaten if not for that. Why? What has Harbaugh done differently, if anything, to get to this point?
Well, that is it, and he has done a lot differently. And he did fire Don Brown a year ago about this time and moved on. And I think if you talk to a lot of people who really watch, part of the media here who watch Michigan, that should have happened after the 62-39 loss in Columbus in 18. And then he signed this extension, and there was so much hand-wringing here. Is he leaving? Should he leave? A lot of Michigan fans wanted him to go. He takes the pay cut. I would take that pay cut to make $4 million, but whatever. And he gets all these incentives. So, he was humbled a little bit with that. And then he just went out and pretty much revamped his staff. He kept some pieces on offense. Obviously, Josh Gaddis is the offensive coordinator. Moved his son, Jay Harbaugh, off of the running backs. Moved him to tight ends and to continue coordinating special teams. Brought in Mike Hart, Michigan's all-time leading rusher, and, phenomenal coach. He coaches the running back. He brought in Ron Bellamy, another former Michigan player. And they got younger. And then you look at the defensive side, he got Mike McDonald. He asked his brother John's advice at the Baltimore Ravens, and John said, I would hire this guy if I were you. So he brings in Mike McDonald, and no one knew what this defense was going to look like. And, that staff is overhauled. Only one coach from last year was back, and that's been the difference to me is, the players relate to these guys. And I know there also was a lot of hand-wringing about guys jumping into the portal earlier in the year, and people there in the building kept texting and saying addition by subtraction. So I think they stick, and I put that in air quotes, they stick the culture. And I think that's what's really – and Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, he's been the key to that, I think.
Well, I was thoroughly impressed, and blow them out. The way they did it was phenomenal. Now, I am a Heisman voter. I've already cast my ballot. I'm not going to say who I voted for, but I want you to tell me even more from your perspective about a year when defensive players, obviously Aiden Hutchinson, Anderson at Alabama put up monstrous stats, and Davis, the defensive lineman from Georgia, about Aiden Hutchinson and what he meant to Michigan.
Oh, he's meant everything. He really has. And when you talk to the players, they can't say enough about him, and it's really just it's what he does on the field, but it's his motor, and it's setting the tone in practices and even in the off season. Just the way he works out, the way he carries himself, the way his DNA is. His father was an All-American in 1992 and the defensive lineman of the year in the Big Ten, and Aiden one-upped him on that and won the Defensive Player of the Year on top of it in the conference. And he's wired that way. And I think that he has really led this team in so many ways. I think they saw him come back from the broken ankle. He had that surgery last year, season cut short at Indiana, and then you saw that season that was only 6 games, but really spiral out of control after he was hurt. And, I asked Kirby Smart about him last night on the conference call, and he said, I turned that game on, and you could see the intensity. You could see how serious he is about the game. And he said his 9-year-old son, who follows college football like just crazy into it, said, you know, he started telling his dad all about Aiden Hutchinson. He's like, how do you know about Aiden Hutchinson? You know, you're a Georgia guy. And he said he knew all the stats. And, you know, he's had that kind of impact on the field. Obviously set the single season sack record at Michigan now with 14. And just really leads in every sense.
So how do you like their chances against Georgia with a month to prepare?
I think they're very good. And, you know, I think the one guy you mentioned, Jordan Davis, is going to be a tough task to handle. And but I do think that they've got a little bit of a blueprint now from Alabama, what they did in the SEC championship game. And they were able to really torch him for what I think was about 420 some yards passing and 3 touchdowns. So I think people saw Saturday night against Iowa, which, you know, I don't know that this is the way to do it, but they had those big plays early, and that's something that they can do. That Michigan prefers to be that physical run first team, but they've got some razzle dazzle too, and maybe that is the way, you know, you go out in a semifinal game like this against Georgia and set the tone that way. But you know, Georgia's defense Iowa's defense is very good. Georgia's defense is really, really good.
Angelique,
and it's going to be interesting to see.
Angelique, thank you for being a part of it. And if
My
you don't
pleasure.
mind, we might try to get you on again right before the semifinal.
I would love that.
Thank you.
I would love that. Happy holidays.
You too. Hey, we've enjoyed your time and insight on Michigan, the Wolverines. And I'll tell you this, I wasn't sure about them. I kept waiting for them to, not just the Michigan State game, which was still very, very competitive when Walker went off for the 5 touchdowns. I was waiting for them to probably not beat Ohio State and slip into 9-3 or 10-2. And my God, they were absolutely dominant against Ohio State, and they beat the living crap out of Iowa. And Iowa, I know, you know, that Tim Vermeer, one of our great viewers, they just weren't competitive. That's okay. They won their division. They got to the championship game. Michigan's just that good this year.
Yeah, Michigan's really good. Give a lot of credit to Harbaugh for just, you know, staying the course. And he had a lot of heat around him the last several years. You know, obviously just the brunt of the weight of the Ohio State rivalry alone and not being able to crack through that. I mean, the pressure was adding up, and they've gone and just thrown that pressure right out the window and just have, you know, hunkered down and kept, you know, getting better and kept playing and kept fighting, and now they're here. And it's like, you know, what would the situation have been if you had, you know, decided, oh, let's just bite the bullet and let's get rid of him. He can't beat Ohio State. And now look where they are. This isn't happening if you do that last year or the year prior. So there's something to be said. I mean, it's a very careful balance, right, of when to know when to quit and when to not. And fortunately for Michigan fans, they did not, you know, decide, okay, this just isn't going to be, you know, this isn't going to be possible. They remained patient. They saw the positives surely outweighed any of the negatives. And it wasn't like they were a bad football team by any stretch of the imagination. There's just a couple of humps they couldn't get over. But, man, once you break through, it's amazing what can happen. And shoot, I think you got to look at them in the playoff and love their chances against Georgia. And who knows what the championship game might look like, but it's an incredible opportunity, and it's cool to see Michigan, you know, in this position.
If you think you've got the right guy, you got to weather the storm. And it was, I think it showed good patience on the Michigan powers that be part to not put anything into the COVID year. I think across the board we've seen that we can't put any weight on what happened last year to almost anybody that had bad seasons, because there's never a, you know, really a true metric on how you were truly affected by it. But I think it also says, like, look, if you look at what Jim Harbaugh was doing, he was building everything. He could not find the quarterback. I thought when he got Shea Patterson in a transfer, that was going to be a good match. It wound up being kind of meh for them, and he was good but not great for Michigan. But being able to do it with Cade McNamara, of all people in the world, you know, and not to knock him, but he went in there as a true bus driver, and they really built it around running the ball and a power team, and that's what they did. I think the McCarthy kid who's going to play in the future, I like what I've seen from him. I think the future's really bright for Jim Harbaugh.
They threw a flea flicker and busted that game open very quickly. They're really good. They've got explosive talent. The running back's hard to deal with. The quarterback rotation's working. Their defense makes plays, and good for them for where they are. I've never been like back in the day when I was younger and all the way through During the innocence of still was college football, you were either Ohio State or you're Michigan. Not if you're a fan of either one, that's obvious. But around college football, USC or UCLA, Texas or Oklahoma, Alabama, Auburn, Army, Navy, right? And Miami, Florida State. And I was always more of Ohio State, but I'm happy for Michigan and who they have become, at least what they've done this year, and good for them for doing what they've done. Real quickly on the chat room, somebody, Aaron Wilson, you asked about the bear skins on the hat and the shirts for 365 Sports. I just put those links up for you. Thanks to Brian Etheridge, who sent those to me, and I passed them on to you as well.
Yeah, so 2 new teams in the playoff. That'll be pretty cool with Cincinnati and Michigan. Neither have made an appearance in the game before. You know, Big Ten's had Ohio State in there a few times, and Michigan State got in there a couple years ago. But, first trip for the Wolverines, first trip for the Bearcats. Congratulations, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby.
Hey,
Big 12, baby.
Think about this. You have among the remaining 8 teams in the Big 12. Oklahoma finished like in the top 20, but you have Baylor at 7. Oklahoma State remains in the top 10. Brigham Young is right outside of the top 10. Cincinnati is in the semifinals. They broke what everyone said would never happen, a group of 5 team. Well, no, they did. And they did it because they beat a blue blood. And they beat them emphatically, and they beat them in Notre Dame, and they beat them in South Bend. And good for Luke Fickell, a program where every time there was another job open, Luke Fickell's name popped, right? Every time a job's open, Baylor's Dave Aranda's name popped. And it's like things are changing. Now, there's still going to be the country club, but that country club has a few little leaks in it, and Cincinnati was able to get through that, and good for them, and I wish them the best of luck. It's interesting to me, though. Just again, the 4 teams who made it, I think they probably got them right. But it's interesting to me that Cincinnati, welcome, and you know what? You want to be a part of it? Go beat Bama, even if most people don't think you can. The average, I think the 13-point underdogs. You know the average, spread in the semifinals games has been 15, 18, 20 points anyway as far as the results. But go beat Alabama. Go sit. And if you don't, I don't care. Good luck because damn it, you broke through, and everyone, and a lot of them, and including me, never thought they would allow you to be a part of the party.
I'll make this promise right now to any Cincinnati fan. I have never thought that your chili was something that people should eat. But right now,
oh, dear God.
But right now, if you beat Alabama right here on the air, I will eat chili on top of spaghetti proudly.
I'll double down. I don't care if you beat Alabama. If you have Cincinnati chili and you can FedEx it to me, I'll eat it no matter what because of where you are. I'll do it right now. All right, Armstrong is here, I think.
Armstrong, can you just give us some sort of indicator?
Okay.
Oh, he gave us the thumbs up like a guy being carted off the field. and Jack McKenzie was throwing a huge curveball and handled it pretty well. Yeah, he did. All right, so 254-339-1122. That number is the open line for the show. We're going to come back with phone calls. We had some in the opening segment. Let's do them again. The chat room's going nuts. The text line's going nuts. We'll have Alexis Cubitt. God bless Alexis Cubitt, Baylor student. She's been all over the country to cover things. Recently in Lubbock. Now she covers Clemson. We'll hear from her on Brent Venables and how Clemson reacts to that. They won't have a problem finding a replacement. Not sure it'll be Brent Venables good, but they'll find somebody without any question. And Baylor, head coach Scott Drew, they play Villanova coming up on Saturday at the Farrell Center. He'll join us today at 5. And Neil McCready at Ole Miss. A lot of questions about them. Jeff Levy, is he going to be the offensive coordinator for that game? Much more to get to. All of that. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Discover Woodway. Right now, Christmas time, they still have the Santa Claus letter event that's going on. And I'll tell you a little bit about that right now. Letters to Santa Claus that continue all the way through the 24th because that's Christmas Eve, of course. Santa's elves dropped off a magical mailbox all the way from the North Pole. Time to write some letters to Santa Claus. Stop by the pavilion in Woodway. Pick up a postcard from the mailbox. Write a letter to Santa. Drop it off inside the mailbox. And, of course, make sure you leave a return address. And Santa Claus will find time, because he always does, to write you back. And also, that's 8 to 5 during the pavilion, at the pavilion on the Arboretum, and open Monday through Friday. And on top of that, they continue to have other events as well, and that's one of them. Talk to Jesse Reed. They're going to announce the latest concert series coming up when they get through the holidays as well. If you travel and you need to stay in Waco, you're coming in for Villanova and Baylor. I don't know, for a women's basketball game. If you're coming in come in to shop at Magnolia and be a part of this amazing turnaround in Waco, Texas, Woodway has 7 hotels for you to be at that's just 8 to 10, 12 minutes away. If you're not using I-35, then it might be 2 or 3 hours. It's discoverwoodway.com.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $5,000 down cash for trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Get the quality pre-owned car you need now at a price you can afford at Richard Car. Find great deals like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $225 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $438 a month. Plus, get top dollar for your trade now. Richard Car. Pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and our aggressive lenders say yes when others say no. Find your next car or truck at Richard Car today.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
The chat room, which can absolutely be like a bad fireworks show that goes bad, or fireworks show that goes bad, just like everywhere. Now there's the debate about chili. Beans, no beans. I know there's some that, my God, you're going to put your foot down. Cincinnati chili. You're in the 4. You send me Cincinnati chili, I will absolutely eat it. You don't have to beat Alabama. If you beat Alabama, then Lord knows we'll do something else, like bottles of champagne or whatever. And that's all due respect. I love Nick Saban and what he does at Alabama. Some of you are telling me how I can actually order it. Gary Lewis, I got to put this one out. Gary said about, with Brent Venables and how he would be a good match with Jeff Lebby, who used to be at Baylor. Venables was at Oklahoma. And in 2000, I think in 15 or 16, Tulsa's playing Oklahoma in Norman. And there's a big gentleman, Jeff Lebby's a big man, on the sidelines of that game. And Bob Stoops didn't know he was there, didn't know why he was there. But Philip Montgomery at Tulsa, who was the offensive coordinator at Baylor under the Art Briles staff, had invited him. Shouldn't have been there. It's a bad decision, especially during that time when Baylor, everything they did blew up into a negative story. That's the most angry, upset I think I've ever seen Art Briles, other than after the Texas loss in 2012, that he was not happy with Jeff Lebby. But I think Lebby and Venables reunited in Oklahoma, where Lebby played. I think would be a hell of a match for Oklahoma and their offense as well.
Yeah, I do. I'm curious to see. There's obviously, Oregon has to fill their head coaching job, and a couple others. I think Virginia's getting close to theirs as well. But there are some. But there's a lot of coordinator things going on right now. Okay, so Venables leaves. All right, here's some guys, 3 guys on the market for defensive coordinator to take over. And Dabo Swinney does not hire outside very often, but Charlie Strong is at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Will Muschamp is unemployed and coming from a rival, mind you, at South Carolina with maybe a vendetta. And now Manny Diaz, also coming from a conference rival where he should have a vendetta. Dude goes 5-1 down the stretch and gets fired. I don't even know if they told him to his face. I mean, he essentially got fired. Like, we're hiring Mario Cristobal and firing you. I mean, there's not the way to handle it.
No, as a cluster.
At all, and it was ridiculous. So if I'm Clemson and I need a DC, I mean, Muschamp and Manny Diaz, to me, would be right at the top of my list. And those are people that can keep that defense, which has been humming for years, going pretty well.
I'm disappointed. I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is from Manny Diaz. He put it up on his account. Disappointed in the university's decision and the manner in which this played out over the last few weeks. The uncertainty impacted our team, our staff, and families. These are real people that gave everything to this program for that. For them, I am hurt. And then he talked about their resiliency no matter what as well.
Yeah, I mean, we just roll through the actual people involved in these stories a lot of the time. And we just, it's just a name, it's just a person, it's just another job, another, roster, whatever. But there are a lot of people that are affected by these things and by just the rumors, much less the actual moves. And that was so classless the way that Miami handled that entire situation. I just, I understand where they're coming from. They got big money, boosters and medical, facility. What is it? A medical system that's got so much money coming in. They're like, hey, why don't we use some of this now for football purposes and athletic purposes and all of that? And that's all great, but the manner in which that was handled was just trash. I mean, it really was. To leave Manny Diaz just strung on a rope, like, oh yeah, you're great until this guy says yes, and then you're totally out to. That's a terrible look.
What if Mario had said no? What if he had said no?
Yeah.
Because you've already kind of de facto fired him, and then Manny Diaz is like, well, so you want me to just come back and wait, like, under the guillotine? I guess the friendly thing about the guillotine was you didn't have to look at it as it fell upon your neck to chop your head off. But basically what Miami would have done with Mario Cristobal if he said no is Manny Diaz would have been looking face up at the guillotine the whole time, waiting for it to slowly drop and fire him. It's ridiculous. And I hope that Miami actually does this. Because if I'm Mario Cristobal and I'm leaving Oregon and maybe the best individual booster in the country in Phil Knight. If I'm going to leave that to go to this chaos, the chaos better promise me a stadium on campus. The chaos better promise me the facilities I need, because Miami that we knew in the 90s and early 2000s died the minute they left the Orange Bowl. Well, they lost their edge.
Here's one thing I want to – you guys still talk about that from the 8-1-3, though. This is interesting. Do you guys forget that Manny Diaz did the same thing at Temple?
No, and I was going to bring that up, and I understand it goes both ways.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it doesn't, but, I mean, that doesn't change the fact that it was still classless on Miami's part. Manny Diaz, classless for what he did previously. I mean, just because one thing happens and another thing happens doesn't negate it. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of karma coming back at Manny Diaz. I didn't forget that at all. But I still believe no matter how he handled a previous situation, whether it's karma coming back on him or not, Miami totally botched the handling of this. I mean, I don't see how you could think it any other way than to say that they did it, just the way that it was handled. But, regardless, I know Miami fans don't care. They got the guy that they wanted in the long run. I think my biggest question in this whole thing is, why are we so freaking excited over Mario Cristobal? Like, what has he done so far that makes you go, like, this is the guy we totally have to leave this one coach hanging out to dry for and totally risk, like, maybe this whole thing imploding for this guy? Like, I get it. He's from Miami, but how often have we heard, oh, the coach is going back home where he's from? That doesn't work out every time. It doesn't work out every time. Just because the guy's from there that it's, it's going to work. I don't know. Maybe it does. For Miami's sake, it has to. It has to work. If this doesn't work, then, I mean, truly, what is there to do? But they're going all in, so we'll see if it works out for the Hurricanes. It's just part of the current college landscape, and he's got the ties. He knows the area. Obviously, it was a job that was very appealing to him. Home came calling, and for some guys, that pull is enough to get them to leave a really good job for another, blue blood type of job. But, I just my biggest question is it's a lot of fuss for a guy who hasn't proven that he is this elite level coach that's going to bring them back to the glory days of Jimmy Johnson and all the rest. I mean, that's my only hesitance here.
This year they were 10-3, got smoked by Utah twice. Last year, 4-3. It's a weird year. And then in 2019, they were 12-2, 9-4 the year before that. So 35-13, pretty good. Won a couple of Pac-12 titles. But the homeboy coming back into where he is, his turf doesn't always work. Ask Scott Frost.
Yeah.
At another school that used to be elite. And so I wish him the best. Paul, you and I have talked about this, and there's so much more to get to, but man, you don't have to have the blue bloods at the top, but it is interesting that Florida State and Miami and Tennessee and Texas and Nebraska and USC, and now perhaps that changes pretty quickly with Lincoln Riley, they've all been down. I mean, all of them have been down and used to, not all of them, but used to run football for a long, long time.
If you just took the names out and gave the situations and you had to guess which one it was, I don't think you could almost in all of them. You took this school, hired a bad AD, got passed by in facilities. One of their closest rivals got good all of a sudden. All these different things. You'd be like, Tennessee. No, that one was Florida State. USC. Nope, that one was, Miami. All these different things that have happened, and it's because they were living in the past a little bit. Now, I do respect people's wishes not to maybe jump full in to the chaos that is college football and the spending right now, but the bottom line is you have to find a way to make it work for you, or you just have to step back and realize that you're not going to be what you were in the past.
You never know, but if you look at what has happened with coaches leaving in the dark of the night, with colleges recruiting other coaches to come there while others have still not been fired or told what's going on. And that's what, to me, and I mean this with every bit of what I say about Dave Aranda, the coaching community and profession has some great people in it, and there's also some dirty, just like the agent business. There are great agents, and there are some that are dirty. That's what's refreshing to me about what Baylor has right now with Dave Aranda. And I know that there's still, you want even more evidence he's staying. I don't know how much more evidence you're going to get other than the fact when they announced that they've redone his contract, which they'll do, along with taking care of his assistants, which they'll do, and that's coming up as well. But Manny Diaz left to come back home. He was a Florida State guy.
Yeah.
Came back to Miami.
Well, his dad used to be the mayor of Miami.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things why I'm not too surprised about Mario Cristobal leaving a steady gig at Oregon to jump into the chaos in Miami, because Miami has a lot of civic pride. If you're from Miami, you think the whole state of Florida revolves around the city. So I'm not surprised to see a Miami native go back to Miami. People who are from Miami love Miami. And, Manny Diaz went back to Miami not because it was alma mater, but because it's the city's school. And his dad was the mayor of that city. And he has, it's about civic pride. And so hopefully Mario Cristobal gets a fair shake there, and they can start looking like Miami again. But man, I mean, there's a lot to weave through. We talked at times when Baylor was going through their scandal about how many different regions that they had on their board. Miami's doubled that. They've got 50 different people. That's too many cooks in the kitchen, man. You got to back off. And if say Dan Radakovich winds up being the athletic director, well, let Dan Radakovich go fundraise. You tell him, what he's allowed to do. Get out of his way and let he and Mario Cristobal go do work.
All right, I want to give you guys some interesting notes. I don't know, I didn't send this as a graphic, but since the College Football Playoff Committee started to meet and the standings were released, Alabama and Ohio State have been a part of the college football standings 48 times. Oklahoma and Clemson 46 and 45. Then there's a drop-off. Notre Dame 38, Georgia 36, Oklahoma State 35. Utah, 35 times. They've been a part of the standings since 2014. Then you get down, I think it's like tied for 14th, Baylor. And that's with a 1-11 and a 2-7 teams mixed in, and a dumpster fire in 2016. Iowa, Michigan State, Oregon, and USC also at 26. Other notables, Texas A&M 20, TCU 19 times, Cincinnati, and most of it's been the last 3 to 4 years, 18. Iowa State, 15. West Virginia has been mentioned 14 times in the rankings. UCF, 12. Brigham Young, Houston, and Texas, 11. Kansas State, 9. Those are the teams. That's kind of a list. And I kind of went through. There's others that are a part of the top 10 or so. But that's pretty interesting to me that Baylor is 14th, tied with Iowa, Michigan State, Oregon, and USC. And they've had 1-11 and 2-7, and the dumpster fire of what occurred in the middle of the 2016 season when they went 6-0 and ended up 7-6. Jeff Lebby, offensive coordinator with whoever it's going to be. I look forward to it. As soon as I saw the matchup, Baylor and Ole Miss, of course you hear about Lane Kiffin. How about Dave Aranda, guys, yesterday? So he's on a media session with the Sugar Bowl, and everybody's out on the streets, and the teams that played in championship games, they were practicing last week. They couldn't go out and get on the road, so they're kind of a week behind, but then again, they have something to show. This is where we were, and by the way, we also won the game, and Mike Gundy has something to tell as well because they were in the game and so close. Dave Aranda gets on the media session. They can't get the video, and he eventually says why. He was on recruiting up in the Dallas and Fort Worth area. He stopped at a parking lot at Burger King so he could stop and have somewhere to talk. Could have picked a lot of places, but I'm just saying that was the closest place for him to stop and do the media session. He never even blinked. He just said, yeah, I'm in a parking lot at Burger King. And that's just another way of who Dave Aranda is. I know that's kind of just a random deal, but one other note about the Big 12 championship game. Baylor's the first time since 2003 when Kansas State stunned Oklahoma. They were 14-point underdogs. It's the first time in the Big 12 championship game, and there were years when there wasn't one, that the underdog won the game. They were 7-point underdogs against a very good and still damn good team from Oklahoma State.
All right, let's go to Jeff in Mexico. You're on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, roll tide, guys.
Yes, sir.
Roll tide.
Hey, did you guys happen to see the game Saturday where Alabama upset Gonzaga?
You know what? I saw highlights. I saw the score, and what a great win for that program.
And the other thing I want to give a shout-out, go Navy, beat Army. Us Marines, we need our own team, but for now we keep rooting for Navy.
Well, I think no offense to the Navy, but they're not dumb. They're not going to take the toughest guys off their team and send them somewhere else.
Now, that's true.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, great to hear from you, buddy. Yeah, you too. Roll Tide. And the Alabama basketball team doubled down for their weekend and beat Gonzaga now with 2 losses. Baylor's up to number 2, by the way, behind Purdue in men's basketball's rankings.
What was Kiefer Sutherland's line in A Few Good Men when he said, "Have I done something to offend you?" He said, "No, I like all you Navy boys. Every time we got to go somewhere and fight, you guys give us a ride." So,
yeah, I remember that. God, that was so good. That's a great movie. That's another great movie that we try to mention movies as well. Hey, by the way, if in fact you are a Big 12 fan or a college football fan, we had Bob Bowlesby, Big 12 commissioner, on Saturday's pregame show. He was with us for about 10 or 12 minutes, and I thought he was fantastic. I know a lot of people don't, like him or this. I thought Bowlesby was true serum in many ways. I'm not trying to get you to like him or not. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But I thought he answered some questions, and one of the questions was, when all hell broke loose at the end of July, there was the thought that Texas and Oklahoma controlled everything in the leverage, and his answer was very short and sweet. I like our position. And that was Bob Bowlesby on Saturday from AT&T Stadium with us with our pregame show. And we'll be in New Orleans to cover a few days leading up to the Sugar Bowl itself as well. Was there anything at all over the weekend in college football that we have missed? We know that Pittsburgh. Hey, did you see the play when Kenny Pickett faked sliding?
Yeah, I love it.
No, he can't do that. That's not fair to the defense. Because if the defensive player had hit him while he was sliding, it's a 15-yard penalty. And now you can fake slide?
Yeah, well, what's the difference between
now? They couldn't have done it ever before.
No,
they could do it.
My point is that is the first time I've seen it, and is that fair to the defensive player?
It's part of the. It's not against the rules.
It's not against the rules. If it
they
is,
got to fix that.
Well, if they fix it, then I'm fine with it. But I enjoyed watching him do it. In the same way that I love watching guys like Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick go deep into the NFL rule book to mess with their opponent. It's fine with me. I get where you're mad, but it wasn't against the rules.
I'm just saying it's the first time I've ever seen it. We've seen guys fake spike, throw touchdowns at the end of games, whatever. I get that. But I can't believe no one's ever done that before.
I don't disagree with Dave Clawson's assessment of it. If fake sliding becomes a thing, then they're going to have to, whistle the ball dead or, review that because, again, it puts the defenders completely they're supposed to stop. So I like the play that he took advantage of the rule right now, but if the rule needs to change, then yeah, probably.
Here's from Michael Goldman. It should have been a penalty. The rule states the quarterback is down when he initiates the slide. He technically initiated the slide.
Okay, well, that was a missed call then.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I don't want it to become a normal thing, but if it's against the rules already, then that was a blown call, and they got that wrong. If it's not against the rules, then he made a great heads-up play.
Well, but I don't count it.
Yeah, so, either way, I don't really have a strong opinion about it. I do think that it's probably something that if it's not already under the rule book, like you just said it was, then I guess there's really nothing to address. They blew that call. But if there is room for it in the rule book, then, yeah, that's something they have to address like they do every offseason when they go and they redo rules and they review targeting and they review how they do things. I'd imagine that's going to be a part of it. But as far as Kenny Pickett goes, it's an incredibly heads-up play. If it should have been a call, then he's very fortunate that it wasn't. But, in the moment, just for the play and for what it was, that's really difficult to make a decision if you're a defensive player. So they're going to have to do something about that. But an incredible play nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a great play.
And he's had a tremendous year. Probably hasn't gotten talked about nearly enough. And it's, just the byproduct, I guess, of just Pitt football not being, some major brand or on the tip of everybody's tongues. Or maybe it's just, there's like Bailey Zappi's put up huge numbers. And sometimes there's just certain guys that don't get acknowledged for their numbers. And I think maybe it's one of those cases there as well with what Kenny Pickett has done. He's gotten some attention, but probably still not enough. But
not like they had when Johnny Majors was there and Tony Dorsett was there and Hugh Green was there. It's not the same thing when they won a national championship back in the 70s as well. All right, when we come back, we have more to come. It's the Monday after the college football playoff has decided who's going to be a part of the semifinals, with Michigan, Georgia 2 and 3, Alabama, Cincinnati at 1 and 4. Coming up, we've known her for a long time since she was a college kid at Baylor. Alexis Cuban, who covers Clemson, on Clemson now without Brent Venables, and her thoughts about Coach Venables to Oklahoma and this is Sikkim 365 Radio. Last week, Ted Teague, the general manager at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, said, hey, come by and test drive one of these Grand Cherokee L's. Wow. It's a fantastic car. It's a fantastic SUV. It feels like you're driving an SUV, but it's the size of almost gives you that pickup truck flavor as well. Authentic exterior design, world-class craftsmanship, conveying the redefined new body style with signature Jeep design cues, along with the signature 7-slot grille up front that's always very noticeable, aggressive front approach angle, and trapezoidal wheel arches as well. How about this? A hand wrap that I'm talking about inside. It is fantastic. It's very luxurious. Hand wrap quilted Palermo leather, open pore waxed walnut wood, 21-inch wheels, and standard premium amenities elevate the new Summit Reserve package to the highest levels of luxury. Equipped with 110 advanced safety and security features. It is fantastic. It's the 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee L Edition at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
We will hear from Alexis Cuban momentarily, who covers Clemson. From Jason Solly, who's a listener and viewer of our show. He sent me an email Sunday morning. What an unbelievable 24 hours. I just can't believe the ending of the game. Thought I'd like to share how Sikkim 365 brings people together. I decided to attend the pregame tailgate at Cartel Tacos. There were no tables, so a couple invited us to sit with them while we were eating. It happened to be Diane. Biscuits and gravy on the chat room and also the website. It was pretty cool. What's even more crazy is we looked at our seats were, and out of 80,000 options, we were only 4 rows separated from biscuits and gravy. And Diane, who calls the show, she's a great fan. I don't call and text much due to work. I'm still out here, though. Love you guys. Love the show. Great to meet Ashley as well, and everybody a part of Sikkim 365 and 365 Sports.
Yeah, I had some friends, and my girlfriend Amanda was at the tailgate at Taco Cartel. They said it was a pretty good little deal there. And I know that at the Blackmar Brian Etheridge Meat Mafia tailgate that they had there, they ran out of everything.
Yeah, and they had a great time. So we had a couple of locations, plus we were broadcasting the pregame inside. Alexis Cuban, Clemson sports reporter for the state. She is a Baylor grad. She also was an intern for us back in the day. And she now joins us to talk Brent Venables to Oklahoma. Oh, we don't have her?
Yeah, no.
Oh, I thought I saw her name on the phone. All right, well,
I was sending her a text.
Oh, forget it then. All right, I was trying to set it up for a great intro and everything else that I could possibly do. Now, a couple of other notes. We've gone through the coaching changes. Cristobal to Miami, Venables, of course, as well. Carolina. Matt Rule fired his offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, who was instrumental in that LSU offense when they had the incredible team with Joe Burrow back in 2019. Brady, Carolina had a bye week, 5-7. Jeff Nixon, the former Baylor offensive coordinator, is right now in charge of running the offense for Carolina. Baylor women's the volleyball team into the Sweet 16 as well. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting situation in Carolina. You know, Matt Rule, I don't know what the level of the hot seat is, but when you start firing coordinators, that's a sure sign that you're on one. And that's the first steps towards, a make-or-break situation. So he's got to get the quarterback situation figured out. Yep. He's got to improve a lot of different areas of that team. I mean, it's not just the quarterback situation. And obviously there were some things that didn't connect as far as the coaching staff goes. I mean, Joe Brady at the time when he made that hire was like, I mean, that was a phenomenal hire. Everybody praised it. Everybody went gaga over, oh, my God, he got Joe Brady. Joe Brady's in the NFL, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of why, like, with some of these coaching hires and whatnot, I'm just like, let's see. Let's see. Because Miami fans are over the moon about Mario Cristobal, or USC fans are over the moon about Lincoln Riley. And look, I think both of those situations in particular are going to work out really well. And I know I said what I said about Cristobal earlier as far as, he's proven it, but he's not like Saban. He's not Saban. It's almost being treated like he's like the surest of sure things. And it's he had some success at Oregon. He also had, years where he didn't have as much success. So, I mean, it remains to be seen. You just never really know how something's going to work out. So, yeah, like you make the coaching hire, and Brent Venables is going to be the next Bud, Bob, Barry, and Lincoln. He might not, though. Just like Joe Brady was supposed to be the next big thing in NFL offenses, and he didn't even last 2 years. So, that's why, opinions are great and everything, but the actual facts are what it's all about. And there was a whole lot of big opinions on Joe Brady that, obviously didn't turn out to be what people expected in the NFL, nor what Matt Rule expected. So he's in a peculiar position right now. I wish Matt Rule the best. I know the NFL was his dream, and that was a dream gig that he landed there, the situation in Carolina, but a lot of work to do. I'm not going to count him out because seen it, been there, seen people do it, and get proved wrong every single time just about. So Wish him the best. Hope it works out. But, yeah, that was obviously a big, big move that he had to make.
Year one with him, wherever he's been bad. Year two gets better. Year three is usually when they hit, and they had a nice start, but they are 5-7. And having McCaffrey hurt in and out most of the year has not helped either. Alexis, is that right?
Yep.
Alexis Cubitt, Clemson sports reporter for the State, former Baylor intern with us back in the day when she was in diapers, joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. First of all, how are you?
I'm working towards a normal heart rate after this weekend and yesterday, so we're good.
All of a sudden, there's changes, and it changes affect other programs, just like it changed affected Oregon today because Miami fired their coach.
Well, and I think also Alexis is a Baylor fan, so she got a little bit of a heart race on Saturday. That was a big part of it.
You could admit this. Which was a bigger moment for you, that Baylor game or Brent Venables is leaving Clemson?
Probably the Baylor game because we kind of knew Brent was going to be leaving. I did not know that they were going to stop Oklahoma State within the 1 yard line. I wish I would have known that. That would have saved me a lot of heartache. But yeah.
Yeah, well, they did. They did it 7 times, and that's even more amazing, especially the last 4 downs. Okay, so Brent Venables, this has been an opportunity that he's been wanting. Obviously, it's now in his lap, and he's gone to Oklahoma. Give us your perspective of what he's meant to Clemson. We know he's been a part of that staff with Dabo, but what's been the reaction from Clemson?
Yeah, well, this being my first year, I'm still kind of learning a lot, but I thought it was pretty remarkable. Tim Beret, who used to be the SID at Clemson, he was here for a very long time. He said that Brent Venables was the most important assistant coach, across the board in sports in school history. So I think that says a lot. Him, who is basically the encyclopedia of Clemson, to say something like that, knowing, how many assistant coaches he's, worked with and things like that. So, no, it's been huge. And a lot of people comment on how, not great Clemson's defense was before Brent Venables got here. I mean, Kevin Steele got fired because they gave up 70 points to West Virginia in a bowl game. So, he comes in and obviously he had success at Oklahoma as a defensive coordinator, and then he comes here, and, I mean, they've been ranked in the top, 10 in total defense, and I think 6 of the last 7 years. So, yeah, it'll definitely be big shoes to fill.
Alexis, do you think that Dabo Swinney will go outside the organization, or will he promote from within? He's not a guy who likes to go outside the Dabo circle all that often.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the funny thing. I think when you look at, it's almost kind of different depending on which side of the ball you look like. If you look at the offensive side of the ball, it's a ton of former players that have moved up in the ranks. I mean, Taj Boyd right now is, part of the support staff. Obviously had a lot of success as a quarterback, I think when I was in school. And then you look at, Tony Elliott obviously was a walk-on. But then you look at, Mike Reed and Mickey Conn, who are guys that kind of came into the program a little later on. So, one of the people that I figured they might look at is Mike Reed, the cornerbacks coach. And I don't know. I think they might go outside for this one, kind of look around a little bit. It might be a little bit of a stretch, but I had Manny Diaz as maybe somebody to look at just because, obviously it'd be hard to go back to a coordinator position after you've been a head coach. But I had him, and then Mississippi State's defensive coordinator. So, I mean, they won't be lacking options, that's for sure. Because, of course, even though it's big shoes to fill, everybody's going to want to try to, have their hand at some success at a program like Clemson.
So, Alexis, when you signed up to go cover the Clemson beat, I don't think you expected to be covering a 4-3 team at one point. I mean, that had to be a bit of a shock. But can you speak to just the resiliency and the stretch run, the 5 straight wins to close the season following that loss to Pittsburgh, which was tough. But what kind of signs did they show? What kind of played into, them finishing on a strong note and obviously having a big opportunity against Iowa State in the bowl game?
Yeah, I think that's been the most interesting thing about this season. I asked Tony Elliott, defensive coordinator, when is the last time, and I don't think we talk about this enough, but when is the last time you've had so much youth on one side of the ball? Because obviously the offense is what struggled the most. And he said he couldn't remember a time. I mean, last year, Trevor Lawrence was a junior. Travis Etienne was a senior. They had experience on the line. Even when Trevor was a freshman, I mean, they had experienced players. They had, obviously, Trevor came in for Kelly. So even though Kelly wasn't playing and did leave, midway through the year, he still provided that leadership. They had guys. But this year they didn't really have anybody. So you had younger players like Will Shipley, the running back, wide receivers who are freshmen, having to grow up really quickly. And, it took some time, but like Dabo said, they went back to quote-unquote fall camp. They went back to their foundations and what they built the program on. And even though it sounds like coach speak and cliche, something worked because, like you said, they, ended the season really strong. And it's just still mind-blowing to me that a 9-3 season is considered a down year for Clemson, where most programs are considering that a success. But, no, I think that, this year is necessary and maybe showing some of the younger guys that, they're not entitled to win. And that's another thing Dabo pointed out is, you come to a program like this and you think, okay, success is just going to be handed to us. But, no, you have to go out there and work for it. So I think it was a good lesson. Like some people say, experience may not be the best teacher, but definitely is the most memorable one. And I think, being that, it ended the 7-year streak or the 6-year streak rather of winning ACC championships and ended the 6-year streak of going to the college football playoffs. I think this will be one that they remember. Kind of reminds me of when Kansas's basketball streak ended in Big 12 conference titles. I think this is definitely something that they'll remember, and a lot of the young guys will get a lot of good experience. And fortunately, they have a good amount of defense coming back next year. So still good, a lot of building blocks to work with, assuming most of them don't leave for Oklahoma with Brent Venables. But it'll definitely be interesting to see who comes in because they already had one kid decommit because of Brent Venables leaving, and how everybody can kind of work together for next year.
Alexis, you saw the Georgia game with Clemson to start the year, and I know it was 10-3, and then Georgia basically just rolled right through everybody. They were rarely ever even challenged at all. How surprised were you with what you saw Saturday afternoon with Alabama?
I wasn't expecting it to be that bad, but I kind of figured Alabama would win because the thing is, like we talked about before the season started, the division wasn't that tough. So if Georgia beat Clemson, there was a good chance that they were going to, win out. So I don't know. I think it's kind of like what Clemson did with Wake Forest. I think there's still that maybe a mental block for Georgia with Alabama where it's kind of that big brother, little brother, no shade to Georgia, but, they still have to work through that. And maybe that's part of what it is. But, so I wasn't surprised that Alabama won. I just I wasn't expecting them to win quite that handily. I thought that, especially with a guy like George Davis, they would maybe be able to get a little more push and kind of get to Bryce Young a little bit. But, yeah, that was something, that's for sure.
Especially after Auburn just went all in and hammered Bryce Young throughout the game the week before.
Alexis, where do you think that Clemson's season turned back up to where they looked at one time that they could have wound up 7-5. I mean, they really were shuffling, and nobody that they put in at quarterback was playing well. Like, where did it change for them?
I think it really was that Pitt game because that's the game where pretty much their ACC championship hopes kind of died. The NC State game, I think it was a little lag. They were not playing the best on the road this season, but the Pitt game, I think, is where everything kind of really hit them. And it was like, okay, we got to figure something out because this could end up really bad really quickly. So I think they definitely had to do a lot of regrouping and really kind of come together as a team because not just injuries, but they had players kind of transferring out. They had, one of their defensive linemen who was expected to be a stud, Brian Brzee, go out in NC State game. So you lose that. And then on offense, they just never really seem to find a good rhythm. And they're quiet guys. Like DJ Uiagalelei is not a big vocal guy. Justin Ross is not a big vocal guy. They needed someone to finally start speaking up. And that's when DJ took on that role and started really kind of commanding the offense and being more vocal and being more expressive. I think Bo Collins, who went to high school with DJ and now college teammates, said, what was it? Was it the UConn game, I want to say? He said he noticed a certain fire in DJ that he hadn't seen, in a long time, if ever. And I think that's just a credit to DJ. He said one time in a presser, I got tired of losing. And I think for a kid who probably hadn't lost 3 games in a regular season ever in his life, that's jarring. When you look at Bosco and the kind of a program they have over there, they don't lose often. So now when you step into this situation and, you're the guy and you have to get it done and you're losing, at an uncharacteristic rate, something has to give. So I think finally something finally clicked in them leaving Pittsburgh and realized, we got to get this together. And they did. Of course, they still struggle with injuries, but I feel like they kind of picked up some steam at a good time.
Alexis, obviously Brent Venables is gone, but what's the latest kind of feel around Tony Elliott? Obviously, he's been mentioned with the Duke job, the Virginia job, and the athletic director also firmly in the rumor mill in terms of taking the Miami job. And Miami obviously has already made their head coaching hire, but what's kind of the scuttlebutt surrounding Tony Elliott and also AD Dan Radakovich around Clemson right now?
Yeah, so I had tweeted that out actually yesterday. I said it could be a long week, and it's just check calendar Sunday because it's a lot going on right now. Like from what I understand, Dan Radakovich, that's kind of a done deal as far as him going to Miami. There's not been anything official yet, but it sounds like they're pretty much finalizing that. And then Tony Elliott, I think, would be the biggest question mark. Duke actually, from what I understand, brought their AD here yesterday. So while some were out stalking Brent Venables, Duke was here talking to Tony Elliott. I believe he did interview for the Virginia job as well. I think if there was a year to go, this would be a good one. I just don't know if those are necessarily the best programs to leave for. There is a familiarity because obviously they're all in the ACC, but it can go either way. I think Brent was a lock once Oklahoma opened up that he would be going. But I think, and it's actually funny because if you would have asked me, 6 months ago, I'm like, yeah, Tony would be the first one to leave. But now with these jobs, I could see that going either way. I think maybe Virginia would be probably a lot better than Duke for a first head coaching job for Tony Elliott. But I know that Duke does like him, and they have some other guys they're considering. I haven't heard as much about the Virginia job, but yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm guessing at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he's still here for the bowl game. But I mean, things can go so quickly, as y'all know, in college football. So yeah, this week will definitely be crucial. So I don't know if I can say this on the radio, but Smokey, if you still drink Crown, take some for me this week.
Oh, I will. Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. It gives me permission now, Alexis. Thank you. Hey, I got a text I want to read to you for all of us. I believe Dabo needs to think about hiring Mario Hobby, who used to be at Clemson, or Jim Leonard, who's at Wisconsin. Manny would also not be a bad idea either, as far as some names at defensive coordinator. I'm not sure if you've heard any of that or not.
Yeah, I actually had Marion on my list as people to consider because he was there, twice before. He did work under Venables, so I said maybe third time's a charm. So yeah, that would definitely be another name. But yeah, a lot of good candidates out there. A lot of people who I think will, reach out and express interest. Because even though it's going to be a daunting task coming after someone like Brent Venables, but I think the opportunity is so. It's just really intriguing, especially considering, like I said, you have a lot of good defensive players that will return if they don't transfer out to Oklahoma or some of the other ones to decommit in the class of 2022. So, yeah, that'll be something we'll be monitoring next as far as who gets that position.
All right, give us the Sick'em Bears and we'll let you go.
Hey, Sick'em Bears.
Really, Alexis, though, I got to know, did you get to watch the game live?
Yeah, so I actually was supposed to be going somewhere to an open house for something, and it was at 4 o'clock, or it ended at 4 o'clock. So needless to say, I didn't go. But I got all of my errands ran so I could watch the game. And, of course, the first half, I'm like, okay, cool. This is great. But people were texting me, and I'm like, it's a long game. Oklahoma State did not get this far for them to just give up. So, it was just, it was a lot. I saw Bryce Terry tweet about it, but I think McVay should have got a little recognition.
Oh, yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. Like Bryce said, they're just glad to win the Big 12 championship. And also, I'm sure y'all know this, but this is the first non-Bryce Petty Big 12 championship too.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Non-Bryles, non-Petty, all those guys, Ian McCall, all those people. Yeah. So it's a whole new era of championships. But yeah, that Jaron McVay play, that is just unbelievable stuff. I've watched it 100 times easily.
If Jaron McVay for the rest of his life has to pay for a meal or a beer around Baylor people, then something's gone horribly wrong.
You're not going to get a statue. He's not going to get a statue, but they need to have an award named after him or something because that was insane.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
It allowed me to actually be petty a little bit because on my Instagram story, I took the picture and I put Brandy's almost doesn't count behind it.
Nice.
I love
Almost.
I
It
love
didn't count. Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
Right. Thank you, Alexis. Appreciate your time. Alexis Cubitt with us. Covers Clemson for the state. Great to have her, and appreciate her coverage of Clemson. When we come back, Scott Drew, defending national champions. They have the week until all the rest of the week. They won big this past weekend against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Coming up next, they have Saturday's showdown with Villanova, perhaps.
Why Scott Drew here? Why is he in Waco? He could go to Oregon. He could go to USC. You go to any big jobs and go win championships.
If there's ever been a school with athletics and coaches that have proven it, yeah.
And don't think that Dave Aranda doesn't notice. I mean, Dave Aranda thinks about all those things.
My first question to Scott Drew.
And look, Scott could have, I'm sure, in his time, taken any kind of little dinky job. I mean, I say dinky job, but a job that wouldn't have led him to this point, just to climb. Climbing just to climb is not always the best thing.
Dude, he climbed. He grabbed the freaking national championship by the throat, beat the overwhelming favorite like we haven't seen in some time, and now he's just, flirting after losing, 4 players to the NBA or to professional basketball, give or take, including a first-rounder in Davion Mitchell. He's just, completely reloaded and has them flirting with number 1. And there's actually a lot of college basketball pundits out there that wouldn't argue with you if you said Baylor's the number 1 team in the country right now. Like little to no drop-off from a national championship team that wasn't a bunch of sophomores that all came back, but was like half the team's gone from last year. And they're just as good, potentially. I think Dave Aranda's a smart man, and I think anytime somebody says, well, why stick around at Baylor or Waco or whatever, it's like, just look at Scott Drew. Look at Scott Drew. He could have gone chase the Indiana job or, any number of just blue bloods or big money or whatever, but he's making plenty, and he's got a good gig, and he's in it for the long haul, and being in it for the long haul paid off. And so I think there's something to be said for not always chasing dollars and chasing the stars.
And Kim, until this opportunity with LSU and the men winning the national title and things kind of changing around on campus, was here forever as well and would never have left if somebody would have put her name on the court, as she kind of admitted, which I reported back in April. When we come back, Scott Drew, national champion coach, unbeaten, number 2 in the country, Villanova Saturday. And I do ask him about any conversations he's ever had with Dave Aranda, if he would share that with us here on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine. It's the holiday season, folks, and you may want to get gifts for people who might be a wine lover, might be a whiskey aficionado like me, or maybe they like craft beer. I have Steve May, who does the fantasy football show with me, has a holiday beer exchange every year. Well, if you're looking for any of those kind of gifts, why not pop into Riverbend Liquor and Wine? Because again, if you're a high-end bourbon fan, Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Garrison Brothers, Hooten Young, Bardstown, they got tons of stuff there. Craft beer in that gorgeous walk-in fridge, they've got that. And look, if you don't really know what to get, if you're going to give them like, hey, I got a friend, I'm supposed to get them a gift. They like white wine. Tell me what a good white wine is. Believe me, their customer service is second to none, and you can just go through the drive-thru window and even ask them those same questions, and they'll get it to you lickety-split. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street in Waco. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Jay from Pickup Outfitters here with your holiday gift-giving guide. So it seems the air fryer is an, air quotes, hot Christmas gift this year. An air fryer? Come on, really? First, an air fryer is not a real fryer. It has no grease. It's a mini convection oven. And you probably already have one of those in your house. So you're just wasting money on something that's not even real. You know what is real? A grill guard. It's made of real steel and it protects the truck of someone you love. And you can get one for that special person on your Christmas list at Pickup Outfitters. So avoid common Christmas gift mistakes like house slippers, a beard, nose, ear, hair, and eyebrow trimmer. Or a man purse? You better not. Give a Christmas gift that says, I love you. A grill guard, a toolbox, running boards, and other great gifts at Pickup Outfitters. You can even get a gift certificate to let them pick out whatever they want. Pickup Outfitters is the Christmas gift headquarters. 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
Get an early start with the Big Finish sales event going on now at Allen Samuels with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab. Ram, the winner of the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab offers style and dependability for any job. It's the Big Finish sales event going on now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Wagler, oh goodness, all nylon.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Nice little dive to the rim. Oh, wow, Chachua.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
National championship head basketball coach Scott Drew, Baylor Bears stay unbeaten, and joins us on Sikkim 365 Sports. How about Baylor football? How about Dave Aranda and the Bears?
Well, first of all, if he is not National Coach of the Year, there's a problem because he definitely deserves it and earned it. And I can tell you one thing. We didn't have to worry about a pregame pep talk after the ending of that game because we were all fired up come Saturday. So happy for them and excited for them.
Yeah, and Scott, how often has he, and I know whatever conversations you have are private, he's told me he wants to be here. He's a fit here. You've proven that before, and for a long, long time. Have you guys spoken much about that?
No, because with this season, I mean, that's the last thing I want to do is interfere with that. And I know what it's like when you're prepping for a game. And in football, I tell you, I really learned if you have 3 weeks and then a bye, if you get 3 losses in a month without a win, I mean, that is just brutal. So I mean, coaches really understand the pressure and the just all the time involved to prep for a game. So that was number one. Number two, if I did sense he was going to leave, then I would have gone to his house and made sure that didn't happen.
There you go.
So, but I had heard good things that he'd planned on staying and everything, and obviously everyone's very excited because he's done a tremendous job. But he also really represents Baylor in a terrific way. I know I really enjoy my friendship with him and the family, and again, couldn't be more proud and happy for his success and how they conduct themselves and how they represent the university.
And I believe that because of your success, and the fact you've been here for quite some time, and where you are now and what the program's done, that proves that people can come, coaches can come to Baylor, stay long-term, be successful, win big things. Don't you think that makes a difference now with all the other coaches on campus?
Well, I think if you look at just how long coaches have stayed in general at Baylor, I think, first of all, it goes to the community. We have great fans, but I think in the community, just great people. And the coaches enjoy raising their families in Waco and Central Texas, and just appreciate the kindness, the hospitality, the love. And then besides that, obviously, Baylor is a great place to work. You have friends and family type atmosphere. It makes it very easy to support and cheer and love on each other. So a lot of positives. And then you got to give the administration a lot of credit, because with the new facilities and constantly with the changing landscape with different NCAA rules and whatnot, MAC and the athletic department and President Livingstone have always made sure that we've had the resources necessary to compete at the highest level. And that's so important, because as a coach, you want to have a chance to compete at the highest level as the players.
You have had a nice start. You have a game coming up. Of course, a lot of people are pointing towards the game coming up with Villanova. How do you feel like this team has handled the early part of the year?
I mean, so far so good, but not only results-based wise, being undefeated, but also you have 7 players averaging 8 or more points. Our assist to turnover ratio right now, our offense is 6th in the country, our defense is 6th in the country, and out of 358 teams, that's tough to do with a small sample size. So really appreciate just how the players have bought in, sacrificed for one another. And again, we lost 4 starters, so that's hard to do in the beginning of the year. And hats off to the guys that have returned and done a great job in leading the way. And now things get a little tougher with Villanova coming to town, as you know.
Yeah, no question about it. In fact, speaking of them, a chunk of the last 4 or 5 national championships will be in that arena at one time. How important just the game itself, to be on campus, the way that should be packed. You've had great crowds. People know what you've done, what they've done. Just to have them on campus.
Well, I mean, it's a first of all, you're playing for the Big 12 Big East Challenge, so we want to represent the Big 12 in the utmost and best way. So there's a lot of conference pride on the line. And then besides that, we've played Villanova the last 2 years, and so much respect for their program and Coach Wright and what they've done. And like you said, what is it, 3 of the last 5 national championships?
Yeah.
So it'll be a big game. I know it's a hot ticket, and our fans really have done a great job embracing the difference in watching a game and affecting a game, and we'll definitely need their help and support. And if you look at Villanova, I mean, they had UCLA down 10+ with under 10 minutes to go, and up big against Purdue under 10 minutes ago. So very easily they could be the number 1 ranked team in the country. A lot of experience returning. So it's one of those games where it's a great win on the resume for whoever wins, and at the same time, both teams will hopefully leave better and hopefully prepared for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you mentioned both UCLA, Purdue. They had a big lead against Tennessee and then ended up still winning the game. But, how important then, it looks as if that maybe right now Jay Wright and his team are a little bit lacking in depth. That doesn't mean they don't have 7, 8, 9 great players. But how important does that move? Does that move the needle when it comes to what you want to do on when you meet them?
Well, definitely with us. I mean, our bench has been a huge reason for our success the last few years. And this year, you look at last game and what we have off the bench, outscored Arkansas Pine Bluff 59-33. So our bench is really critical and real important. But at the same time, if you look at come NCAA tournament time, a lot of teams only play 6, 7 guys. And so Villanova definitely can be successful with what they're doing and how they're doing it. And Colin Gillespie will be somebody that, as he keeps getting coming off the ACL injury, will get more and more used to playing and logging those minutes, as will everybody with that. So, I mean, Villanova at the end of the year, hopefully us at the end of the year, are going to be right there. It's a Final Four type game and atmosphere, and it's a great opportunity to showcase and show off Baylor University once again.
Flo Thamba, Jonathan Jamachachua have both given you your big minutes inside. Both of them have been able to play. They haven't had issues with fouls. Do you have someone else that you want to work into that role if, in fact, you go up against somebody if they get into foul trouble?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is you played. You have Zach there that can play there, and you have Jeremy Sohan that can play there. So we have options. And at the same time, I know Purdue, with their two-headed monster, and rightfully so, get a lot of credit for the 2 best bigs in the country. And we feel the same about John and Flo, because they just do a tremendous job for us, especially making winning plays, sprinting the ball screens, relocating on screens, just how effective they are at anchoring our defense and how selfless they are, how they can switch on people on the perimeter. So, again, you're looking at top analytically. I think Ken Palm, what do they got going over 3rd, 4th analytically. So two top teams. And speaking of that, I mean, look at Baylor University when you talk football, men's basketball, women's basketball, the only school in Big 12 history to have 3 champions in the same calendar year, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. It is crazy. A couple of more things. What is it like right now? I've seen you on the road. Obviously, you have your games in prep, and just the fact you have your own life. What's it like right now in season as far as weaving in and out of all the things that you do?
Well, now you have the finals week coming up. It gives you an opportunity to get on the road a little bit and recruit a little more. And at the same time, we don't recruit a lot during the season because we try to pour all that time in with the players that we have here and just building those relationships. But just like anyone in parenting, you're never off duty. Coaches are never off duty, so there's always something to do, as you know.
Ashley asked me to ask you this question. He said you could tell him it's from me. With free throw shooting, how do you make sure that Cryer and Akinjo and Flagler and all the others are taking enough free throw shots at practice? Because I remember last year there was a story about Matthew Meyer, and he didn't finish his free throws, and I believe it might have been Tang or Jacobs or whoever that got him back on the court, and it was kind of a turning point for him. Your thoughts about making sure that they get their reps in?
Yeah, that's one thing. A lot of times coaches don't practice free throw shooting, especially pressure free throw shooting, enough. And with us, we try to get in meaningful free throws, pressure free throws, and we try to do it in different ways, either with the team all watching and now there's consequences if you don't make it, to individually making a certain number before you leave in a row or total, just to keep it fresh and keep them concentrated. But what I've found throughout the years is normally the more reps they get in games, the more they get used to shooting free throws. And we've had we haven't had a ton of reps in games, and I would think as we get more and more of those reps in games, I think our free throw shooting, I pray it gets better.
Yeah, no.
We'll keep practicing. We'll keep practicing free throw shooting because, as you know, we can control what we can control, and we have to get better at that. But again, I think normally we have good shooters, and the more reps they get. Remember, when you lose 4 starters, that means you have a lot of new players. So game time free throws are different than practice time free throws, no matter what you say or do. And at the same time, we have a lot of different guys on the line than are used to being on the line. And you see that a lot in the NBA. Just watching our guys at the free throw line. It's just different levels, different. It just takes time to get used to, you know.
Kendall Brown, as good as he's been, is there still do you still wish he would maybe cock it and go with it a little bit more on the perimeter? Is that to make sure teams know he will?
I think Kendall's biggest strength is his self-awareness and allowing the game to come to him, and his efficiency. And so with that, I think sometimes the worst thing you can do is try to have someone do something that is contradictory to that. And what I mean by that is the reason he's shooting a great percentage is he takes high percentage shots. The reason his assist to turnover ratio is so good is because he makes high efficient plays. So with him, he's our second leading scorer right now, and somebody that as he continues to grow and feel more comfortable, will probably do more. At the same time, you can't argue with his efficiency numbers, and that's really a blessing. And for especially most freshmen, that's the hardest thing, is getting them to buy into efficiency. And because, as you know, most freshmen come in and they're the best player from their team, so they're used to taking the most shots and tougher shots. And the great thing when you play on good teams is you have other good players. So the key is not to take bad shots, but allow great players to get great looks, and then everybody's more efficient.
How about Villanova and Baylor Saturday? That's next for Scott Drew and his Bears, the defending national champions. 2 o'clock, that place ought to be rocking. Maybe the best non-conference game ever on your campus. How about that?
I like that, and ABC will be here to broadcast it.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
Definitely excited, and hey, maybe, who knows, maybe you might even show up and have a tailgate again.
Oh, no, I'm doing that, and I'm getting Dickie V. Dickie, of course, has been through his battle. We're going to get him on to talk about it and pump it up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Scott, thanks for your time, as always.
Hey, thank you, and thanks for all you do for Central Texas and Baylor Athletics.
Scott Drew, men's basketball coach for Baylor on Sikkim 365 Radio.
BetUS.com, the 3-decade leader. Look, right now you've got, every single college bowl game you can bet on. The CFP, NFL betting lines. Look, you can bet on the New England and Buffalo game tonight. Live betting lines. That game is in the snow. That line's going to be kind of crazy. You may want to bet on that one. Plus, they have all kind of different things going on, prop bets and things that go on all the time at BetUS.com. And whatever the sport is around the world, they probably have action on it. That's why they're the 3-decade leader. Use our promo code SICKM125 for a 125% bonus on cash, or SICKM200 for a 200% bonus on cryptocurrency. So go to BetUS.com today. Promo code SICKM125 and SICKM200.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Baylor and Ole Miss. They were supposed to play, and I just now realized this as I brought this up, they were supposed to start last year against each other, and now they'll meet in a bowl game. COVID, of course, ruined that. Ole Miss has had a great run with Lane Kiffin and company, and Baylor has had one with Dave Aranda. Neil McCready joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Neil, how ironic. I just thought about that. How ironic they were supposed to start last season, and here they are going to end this season.
Yeah, they were supposed to play in Houston, if I remember right, to open the season. And obviously I can't speak for either fan base, so fans of both teams are free to tell me that I'm full of it, but I bet you that if I had asked 100 Baylor fans and 100 Ole Miss fans and said, be honest, if I told you that these two teams will get together on New Year's Day of 2022 with a combined record of, let me do my quick ULM math here, 21-4, with Baylor having won the Big 12 and Ole Miss having come awfully close to getting to the SEC title game. I don't know how many people, if they're honest, would have said, "Oh yeah, I could buy that." I think if I told Baylor and Ole Miss people, "Hey, you guys, are going to play in a bowl game at the end of 2021, I bet you they would have thought maybe the Texas Bowl or something like that. I just don't know how many people could have foreseen the job that Dave Aranda did at Baylor and the job that Lane Kiffin did at Ole Miss in such a short period of time. And again, I'm not as familiar with Baylor's situation as I am Ole Miss's, obviously, but I'd be surprised.
Neil, how much are – I mean, the Oregon job's still open, so I guess we can't count anything out, but are Ole Miss fans maybe breathing a sigh of relief that LSU is closed and Oklahoma is now closed and some of the jobs that might have swayed Lane Kiffin away from Ole Miss have been filled?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I think the only job that was ever realistically a threat was, if it ever got there, was Miami. I don't think it's any secret Lane loves that part of the country, and, he likes to deep sea fish and ride around in his boat on the intercoastal and stuff. And I mean, Ole Miss can offer a lot of things, but it can't offer an ocean. It cannot. And, I think that was the one that they're worried about. I think Lane probably is a little, and this is me guessing. No one has told me this. Well, some people have hinted at this, but he doesn't talk about these things. I would guess that he's probably a little surprised that 10-2 at Ole Miss, and considering what he inherited 2 years ago and where this program is today, he's probably a little surprised that didn't get any more attention at LSU or Florida, but it didn't. And I think Ole Miss has certainly stepped up. They just gave him a deal that's worth about $7.5 million per year on average, with easily attained incentives that would get him over $8 million a year. I think Ole Miss has shown him a level of appreciation and I guess, for lack of a better word, love that he didn't get anywhere else. And I don't know. It's funny. Some people that watch these press conferences more closely than I do yesterday thought maybe he sounded a little different, maybe a little more invested, a little more bought in than he had previously. I don't know that I'm prepared to go there, but I think yes, to answer your question, fans are probably breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief, but at the end of the day, I don't know what opportunities he truly had out there.
So, Neil, what is the latest scuttlebutt with Jeff Lebby? Obviously, the Oklahoma offensive coordinator position has been the hot rumor here lately. And Lebby, I mean, we watched him do his thing as running backs coach here, and obviously has blossomed into a hell of an offensive coordinator. What's the talk around Rebel Country around Lebby?
Well, as we mentioned this, it's 5:41 Central Time, and I'm surprised that it hasn't come out officially yet. I fully anticipate he will be the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma by any minute now, any hour now. I mean, I don't. To me, there's no mystery in it. To me, it's almost past tense. I'm not surprised. It's a great opportunity for him. He went to OU, and it's an opportunity to have his own offense. And people hear this, and I think they think of it as a negative, and I don't mean it as a negative, but to get out from under Lane Kiffin's shadow. You watch Ole Miss play, and they put up a bunch of points when everybody's healthy, and the highlights you see are Lane Kiffin running down the sideline and his call sheet flying up into the air and all that stuff. And I think people fail to realize how much of that offense is Jeff Lebby's, how much of the tempo is taught by Jeff Lebby, how much of the concepts and the play calling is Jeff Lebby. And don't get me wrong, Lane Kiffin is an offensive genius. I think we've proven that over the course of years, in the same way that Dave Aranda is a defensive genius. But Lebby played a big role in what Ole Miss did the last 2 years. And I think Oklahoma noticed it. And, I think I told you guys when I've been on your show before, I think Jeff's a future head coach. And, I think had Lane left for Miami or wherever, I think Jeff would have been on the very short list here. And if in the near future something were to happen and Lane were to leave to go elsewhere, I still think Jeff would be on the very short list here. He's incredibly well thought of in Oxford and at Ole Miss, and they had an impact on the community in 2 short years, including one where COVID had everybody upside down. And he's I think I told you guys this. I still think he's a rising star, and the fact that LSU was as interested in him as they were, and Auburn was interested, and Ole Miss offered a very lucrative extension. I think 3 years and about $2 million a year, which is pretty damn good coordinator money. And, the fact that all that happened is probably indicative of just how bright his star is moving forward.
Yeah, and Oklahoma's that's home for him. I'm not saying that's home, but that's where that would make sense. And I had Gabe Eichert, who does a show on Big 12 radio, played at Oklahoma, told me that he would not. He will be surprised if that's not done by sometime by the end of the evening, as you mentioned as well. What do you think that means for the bowl game? Do you feel like he'll leave and not be a part of it? Because that's Baylor, and you know the story, and he was at Baylor and was a up-and-coming guy at Baylor.
Yeah, he's, our Brow's son-in-law. And, there were going to be some pretty easy storylines to attack for that game. I would assume that he would not be with Ole Miss for that game at this. At this point, what does it mean? I don't think it means a lot. Ole Miss has a veteran quarterback in Matt Corral, and Lane Kiffin is perfectly capable of calling a game himself. And I would think that they'll basically run Jeff Levy's offense, and Lane Kiffin and Matt Corral will call it. That would be my guess. But look, when you're going up against a defense as talented as Baylor's and a coaching staff as good as Baylor's, you'd like to have every weapon available to you, and not having Jeff Levy. And I'm assuming this, I don't know this, but I'm assuming that they won't have him, and not having Jeff Levy's eyes and brain in the press box to see what he sees and to relay down and to be able to match wits with Baylor is certainly it's something that Ole Miss will be missing in that game.
Neil, have you seen a matchup this year? And I've got one in my head. And it's not a completely equal comparison, but a defense-first team that doesn't score a whole lot of points but has an effective offense playing Ole Miss. Would that be maybe A&M game that you could maybe best kind of guess as to how this matchup might line up at the Sugar Bowl?
A&M, Auburn, from a philosophical standpoint, are kind of similar. Auburn's, as you saw in the Iron Bowl, when they're dialed in and they want to be, they're a really good defensive team, and they gave Ole Miss's offense fits. And that was a game where Ole Miss went in there just kind of limping, two receivers down, and then their best receiver, Dontario Drummond, pulled a hamstring in the second quarter and basically couldn't return. And that was about the part of the year where Matt Corral's ankle was so bad that he just really couldn't do much. But yeah, maybe A&M. I'll just say this I know I'm on the air in Waco, but I think Baylor's clearly a better team than Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah.
Stylistically, there might be some similarities and that kind of thing. But, look, I've watched Baylor a good bit this year, and that defense of theirs it's legit. I kind of anticipated that their game with Oklahoma State would be a classic, because I think OSU has a really strong defense as well, and that game sort of lived up to the billing that I think we all, as a neutral observer, I kind of anticipated that would be a fun game to watch, and it was. And I don't know. It's Baylor's. Baylor's right there on the cusp of being in the playoff, for God's sake. They're a very good team, and Ole Miss is too. Ole Miss probably, if they had another crack at Auburn and could have played on healthy, they'd have won that game. They would be 11-1 and probably 5th or 6th in the thing, and they would have been maybe the poster child for expanding the playoff if they could have just pulled that one game off. So both of these teams are really good. I anticipate both teams will be excited to play in the game. That both teams will be pretty pumped to be there, and it's assuming both teams go into it healthy, and I think Ole Miss will go into it pretty healthy. I think it's got a chance to be a really fun game.
Yeah, I do too. I think Baylor should be relatively healthy as well. And I guess the only questions right now is just like staffs and what's that's going to look like. And obviously Levy's right at the top of that list of question mark, although not a question as you mentioned, just a timing thing. The Sugar Bowl was something they played in just 6 years ago. The last time was Hugh Freeze's head coach. And I know there was many Sugar Bowl appearances, in decades past. But how big of a deal is that to be back in the Sugar Bowl, but the first time with Lane Kiffin?
Oh, I would think however many tickets they can get their hands on, that's how many tickets they'll sell. I would think there will be an absolute ton of Ole Miss people down there. I mean, I can't even imagine how many Ole Miss people will be in New Orleans. I don't know how many can get tickets and actually get into the stadium, but however many that is, there will be another 10,000 that are just down there. They'll take a massive. It's a big deal. I mean, it's their first bowl game since that Sugar Bowl, and you know, there was an undercurrent going into that Sugar Bowl that this second NCAA letter was on its way, and you know, that there was problems, that it wasn't particularly stable, that some things were wrong. I mean, even though there was a lot of hype around that team, and that was a great team, and they dominated Oklahoma State that night, I think you sort of knew that the patient wasn't exactly healthy, and it's the opposite of that now. I mean, it's totally different this time. I mean, this is, you know, you look at where they were 2 years ago and look at where they are tonight, and heading into this game against Baylor, and kind of, you know, they just re-signed Lane Kiffin, and, you know, even if Jeff Lebby, as I think we all expect, leaves here tonight, I mean, they'll replace him with a good coach, and they've certainly committed, they being Ole Miss, to competing at a super high level at this point. And, you know, I think they're pretty excited. So from a 1 to 10 standpoint, with 10 being as excited as you can get, if they're not a 10, guys, they're in the 9 point somethings. I mean, there will be a massive crowd from Ole Miss there for sure. It's a big deal. You know, for a long time, that was kind of their goal, was to get back to the Sugar Bowl. And then Hugh Freeze did it. And, you know, that was kind of a big night for Ole Miss. And then the program's kind of gone through hell and back since that night. And I think they sort of view this achievement to go up against what's Baylor in the polls 5, you know, to go up against the 5th-ranked team that just won the Big 12. I think they view it as a sign that they're back, and I think they plan to stay there. Whether they can or not remains to be seen, but they're showing the financial commitment to stay there.
Neil, I don't know if this has already been relayed. Matt Corral's now played 4 years. I know there's a COVID year. Has he already made up his mind what he's going to do? Yeah, he's already announced that he's going to go pro. I mean, guys, he's a first-round pick, and he's one of those guys. If you've not ever seen him play in person, you'll see it in person that you don't really see on TV. His release is so fast. He has such an NFL release, and he's not the biggest kid in the world, but that's not as big of a problem in the NFL today. You look around, you got Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, you got other guys that aren't super big quarterbacks that are having success in the league. And Matt's really athletic. He can hurt you with his feet. He's accurate. He throws a really good deep ball. And I think he showed his grit this year. You know, he got hurt against Tennessee. It was a pretty significant ankle injury, and he kind of gutted through it. And so I think when he plays against Baylor, assuming he doesn't have a setback, it might be the healthiest he's been since, you know, late September, early October, when he was kind of at the forefront of the Heisman race. So, yeah, he'll go pro. If you told me he ends up being a top 10 pick, he's one of those guys. It's a long-winded answer. He's one of those guys that's going to do really well at the combine. He'll do really well in his pro day when, you know, he's just throwing against air. He's the arm strength, the ball speed, the release. All of those things are things that pop in person that sometimes you don't see on television. The NFL people, they're already in love with him, but they'll fall further in love. Last thing on him then is he's going to play, right, in the Sugar Bowl. There's no question about that, because we have guys that opt out these days.
I would be shocked. He's been asked about it, and he said that if he's physically able, he's going to play. And you know, he and Lane Kiffin Lane talked about it last night. They have a really strong connection. You know, two people that both California kids, both guys who've sort of been shunned by USC, and they hit it off from day one, and that's a really tight relationship. I would be absolutely shocked if Matt didn't play.
How pumped are you, Neil, for Dave Aranda and Rob Roberts' defense versus a Lane Kiffin and whoever style offense? I mean, I think, you know, the opposite side of the football could be intriguing as well, but Aranda versus Kiffin, that seems like it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, right? I mean, it's a bowl game, and I mean, whoever wins, it's a great win for them, and whoever loses, it's not the end of the world. I mean, these are two programs that, again, I mean, both of them have a lot of momentum, and they've both held on to their coaches and all of those things. I mean, I think Michigan, Georgia is the most intriguing game to me because, in large part because it's got, championship ramifications. The winner's going to play for the title. But outside of that, Ole Miss Baylor's way up there in terms of games that are really interesting. And, if you're just – I always talk about an imaginary friend in Dubuque, Iowa, who just turns his TV on and doesn't care. You have no ties to Ole Miss and no ties to Baylor on New Year's night. You pour a cold one and turn that one on. There's a decent chance you're making it to the end of that.
Thank you, man. Great stuff, Neil. We'll try to maybe hook up the week of the game as well, if that's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. You guys, if I don't talk to you before, then have a Merry Christmas.
You too, sir. It's Neil McCready again. Rebel Grove. A lot of good stuff on. Expect Levy to be announced at any time. He probably will not be coaching in the bowl game. And that Matt Corral will play most likely in the Sugar Bowl despite being a projected first-round pick.
Well, I think that Levy to OU is a great hire. But, man, it's funny how there's been kind of these occurrences where, cross paths with the old and the new as far as Baylor staffs go. And, yeah, you can't help but look like, Baylor versus Jeff Levy. But obviously it looks like he's probably going to be putting his roots in Norman, which is, again, a great hire for Oklahoma. But I'm excited about this matchup. Baylor defense versus Matt Corral and Lane Kiffin's offense should be a lot of fun. And the opposite side could be a fist fight as well. So should be fun in New Orleans. Hopefully Baylor fans travel. I'm sure they will. And as he said, Ole Miss fans are going to be there in droves. So, looking forward to it.
I hate that I didn't ask him about Rocky because on his podcast, he has a great podcast, Neil McCready. He always makes some sort of mention about the Rocky movie, so maybe we'll do that the week of the bowl game.
You deserve to ask him about the Rocky movie since you only think one of them is good.
That's all it should have been. Any movie only needs one.
By the way, Jeff Grimes, this is from a couple hours ago, but he has arrived at the Broyles Award.
That's awesome.
And so, Baylor's offensive coordinator up for the top assistant coaching award in college football. He got a big smile on his face, as you can imagine. And, life is good for the Baylor coaches right now, and we'll see what happens with the Broyles Award.
When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5. What will women's basketball do without Paige Beckers from UConn?
Who cares?
Sikkim 365 Radio and 365
I'm sorry
Sports.
for her. But
IdealMRI.com, what can it do for you? Well, unfortunately, and I'm not making light of it, Paige Beckers is a great player of the year last year for UConn, went down with an apparent knee injury at the end of the game in a win against Notre Dame. I bring that up because she's waiting on an MRI, or they're waiting for the results on an MRI. And if you need an MRI and you're in the Waco area, it's worth driving to Waco. If you're not, because IdealMRI.com with Dr. Rob Maxey, Al LeBlanc, and the great staff in the Central Texas marketplace can save you a ton of money. The average MRI is $1,100. Their MRI is $497 or less every single time, and they'll also help offset it by helping you with your insurance paperwork and that as well. Ideal MRI will find out what is in your shoulder that might be torn, what is in your knee that might be a ligament that is damaged. Whatever you need that hurts so much you can't sleep, function, or anything else, IdealMRI.com will help you. Title sponsor of our show on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports, IdealMRI.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment, and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $5,000 down, cash for trade. TTL Extra, see deal for details.
Get the quality pre-owned car you need now at a price you can afford at Richard Car. Find great deals like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $225 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $438 a month. Plus, get top dollar for your trade now. Richard Car. Pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and our aggressive lenders say yes when others say no. Find your next car or truck at Richard Car today.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 replacements for Mario Cristobal at Oregon. Of course, Mario off to his alma mater at Miami. Number 5, Andy Avalos, Boise State. He was the defensive coordinator at Oregon before he got the job at Boise State. I think and look, Boise State does not want to lose him. They really love the potential that Andy Avalos has there. But this would be someone I would think that they would talk to, although I don't think he's at the very top of their list.
No, I don't see why he would be on the top of their list, to be perfectly honest with you. Avalos had an all right season at Boise State. Certainly not a great season for them by any means. But, young guy, a lot of connections, well thought of, like you said. I mean, all of these candidates will fit a couple of those boxes. But, yeah, I think a few things would have to fall through the cracks probably, but obviously has that experience, and they know him well. And you know what? I'm sure there would be a contingent of people that would be happy to see that, but I think he's probably got to prove a little bit more.
Yeah. And he's in that category of familiarity. Maybe you do it. And, again, this is a weird part of the coaching cycle, so we'll see. These next two are the number 4, Blake Anderson. This is somebody they should talk to who's on the rise. Clearly. We just had him on the show a couple weeks ago. Utah State was really good this year. Everywhere he's been, they've won. And I think he's getting ready to be someone you need to think about for Power 5 jobs. I really do, with Blake Anderson.
Well, we need to get him back on to talk about their championship because that was a heck of a job. Their quarterback, Logan Bonner, is a Texas guy. I believe he's from Rowlett, and he's had a great year, had a fantastic stretch run, and that was a big-time win for Utah State, and not, obviously one of the main events that people were talking about, but certainly a game of interest and an outcome of interest in that title game over the weekend. So, yeah, Blake Anderson, I mean, we all know his backstory. I don't know if, there's any connections or how much Oregon even really knows about him, but, I mean, I'm sure, close enough proximity now that they got to at least have him on the radar. Yeah. So, definitely a fan of the guy, and glad to see him having success at Utah State after all those years at Arkansas State.
Yeah. All right, number 3, this is one that they need to talk to, but might be tough because it's an alma mater, and they're about to be in a Power 5 conference, but Kalani Sitake's done an unbelievable job at BYU. And if you can get him, I think that's a home run hire for Oregon. And I would think their best bet right here would be, well, you're going to be in the Power 5 in 2 years, or you can come here now. But I think this is going to be a tough one because, again, he's at an alma mater. We had him on the show. And not that you shouldn't believe coaches, but when you are a Mormon coach at your alma mater that is the Mormon hub, and you believe in their mission and all these different things, you're going to have to swing pretty hard. And look, Bronco Mendenhall already left and went to Virginia, was there for a while and just resigned. So he knows that. I think it would be tough, but I think it's somebody you got to call if you're Oregon.
No, I think you absolutely have to talk to him, at least to gauge his interest and engage, how he would fit. He's perfect at BYU. I mean, absolutely perfect at BYU. Tremendous coach. I have a ton of respect for him, and I don't even know him a lick, but just what little I do know, I respect the hell out of. So, yeah, I think any program that could hire Kalani Sitake would do well for themselves. Is he a big enough name or fish for Phil Knight? I don't know that, but is he a great football coach? Absolutely he is. So, yeah, you at least interview the man.
All right, and in the big fish category, even though they're 7-5, Matt Campbell at Iowa State. Again, he's going to bring a different kind of attitude maybe than Mario Cristobal had, but we put him on these lists because he is well thought of around the coaching world, but I'm not sure if this is an exact fit, but this is the guy of the big fish I would call. And look, I left Chip Kelly off this list, and he might be the guy that they try to go and reunite with, but sometimes I think it's better to let that kind of go than trying to go back into your past and restart things, which is why I put Matt Campbell in this spot instead of Chip Kelly.
And Iowa State fans are like, oh, my God, here we go. But again,
Baylor and Iowa State fans don't like each other, but you might as well join in on being those teams that everybody wants to come pick apart your head coaches. But, I mean, Matt Campbell, I have no idea. I'm not even pretending to know what Matt Campbell wants in life. I mean, if he wants to stay in Ames for the next 20 years, hey, hats off to you, man. At least somebody out there is in it for the long haul and not, swayed by big money or blue bloods. I mean, but the fact that we've had the coaching cycle that we've had and he has not budged, I mean, what's it going to take? I mean, what is it going to take? How many jobs have to open up that are major jobs that he does not get or does not have interest in for us to go, maybe he's just going to stay in Ames for a while? I mean, what is it going to take? Every job imaginable has opened up at this point. He's mentioned for every single one of them. He apparently interviewed for the OU job and talked to them about that. So he's at least listening, but yeah, maybe Oregon would be the one. But at this point, I have no reason to really believe Matt Campbell's going anywhere.
Yeah. And number 1, look, his record is 26-28 at Cal, but I do think it says more about Cal than Justin Wilcox. He's an alum. He's extremely well thought of at Oregon. And there are murmurs, and again, this is just murmurs, that he might be getting a little worn out with the way that things work at Cal, and that's not a place that's a place that cares about its politics before anything else. And I'm a person who I like things in the middle of the road, so I think that you can be too liberal where you're so scared of your own shadow, or too conservative where you're too careless about things. And I think that maybe at Cal I don't think maybe at Cal they're too liberal. I know that Cal's too liberal. It's too liberal for their own good. Again, and these things will wear on a coach. And I think even if he was aligned with them, he'd be like, my God, guys, let's have some common sense here. So I think, especially with it being his alma mater, Justin Wilcox got to be a guy you got to look at.
You actually said something nice about Al Gore to me yesterday in a text message, and I fainted.
I said no.
I don't know what the reaction of Oregon fans would be. I feel like they're big fish hunting, and I wouldn't consider Justin Wilcox a big fish necessarily, but he's certainly somebody who is as far as the Vegas odds go, somebody that's mentioned, in that top 5-ish range, and obviously, Oregon fans know a great deal about him. Justin Wilcox, sure. I do think Chip Kelly, there does seem to be, at least some smoke around that. I don't know if any of it's legitimate or not, and obviously that would be one hell of a reunion if he decided to go back. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man, because now that the deck chairs have reshuffled and we're restarting this thing all over again, but here's a big job opened up, and it's gonna have ramifications elsewhere. So this will be a fascinating coaching search.
The Heisman Trophy, we end it with this. Paul, great stuff in the top 5 as always. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Kenny Pickett, and Aiden Hutchinson, no particular order, have been named the finalists for the Heisman Trophy that will be announced on Saturday up in New York. Good luck to Jeff Grimes today at the Broyles Award dinner up in Arkansas. And thanks to Jack McKenzie, parts of Armstrong Sims. Maybe his brain's still functioning. And Paul Catalina, who went and got him something to make him feel better. He's now sitting up for Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Thanks to all of you. Great stuff today again in the chat room and on the text line and the phone calls. Former Baylor linebacker Blake Lynch, 9 tackles, 2 sacks at TFL, a quarterback hit, a forced fumble, recovered a fumble in Minnesota's loss to Detroit. But a big-time game for the former linebacker in Blake Lynch. David Smoak, good night. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.